Hey guys, what's up? This is episode 20 of the GrindWorks BMX Podcast. Just actually wrapped it up, so as you'll see, I'm dressed exactly the same way. It was recorded about, I don't know, I think we closed about 10 minutes ago. So, this episode was with Cody Dixon, probably more well known as the Barend guy. If you don't know either of those names, he's a good friend of the NoWear BMX crew. We talk a lot about NoWear BMX, their upcoming Cornhucket Jam, and a few other things. But overall, we have a really good conversation. It's a little bit on the lengthy side, so hopefully you've got some time or you're willing to split this up. But definitely give it a whole listen, and I appreciate you tuning in for yet another GrindWorks BMX podcast episode. All right, looks like we are rolling. And what's up? Welcome back to GrindWorks Podcast. Here with Cody Dixon.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Most people probably know you as the Barend guy.
Yeah, as of lately, that's probably what people know me as, just because a couple years ago I got into a little venture trying to make bar ends and selling only bar ends, because nobody was really doing it, except for Matt Barend. You know, shout out to him. He's the OG bar end master.
Yeah, he's been doing it before it was cool.
Yeah, we'll use the hipster terminology there.
He's actually done it for so long, and it seems like the last couple of years it's kind of blown up.
I hope it keeps blowing up for him, man. Support him, like buy his stuff, because he puts time into that stuff like nobody else I've ever seen. I was lucky enough to find BMX legend Phil Wasson when I started making my bar ends, and he helped me out and got me started, and then our paths kind of diverged because it was such a small little company. It was kind of hard for somebody as important as he was at his job to continue making them for me, you know? So
yeah.
We'll see. Barend guy might live again, but until then, we're just...
we just summarized. All right, that's a wrap.
What?
That's a wrap.
What do you mean?
It's a joke. Because you, just hit all of that in, 30 seconds, and then you're like, okay, that's it. Barring guy then might live again.
A very simple person, I guess you could put.
So, I met you, 4 years ago or so?
Man, when was it? Was it the first time we actually met was at that little jam that we put on in St. Louis, right? And
yes.
You drove all the way out by yourself and stayed.
Yeah, everyone decided last minute they didn't want to go with me.
Yeah. That was a good friend of mine, Habo Gutierrez. He lives out in Denver now. Yeah, him and I put together a little jam just in the wintertime in St. Louis. It's cold, so we did something for the kids to try to put something together, and it came out really fun. I'm glad you made it out.
Me too. But so I'm trying to circle back to that though, because we didn't talk for long before that. I think you hit me up. We talked a little bit. So your history though is not PA, but it's Youngstown, Ohio, right? So
that's where I was. I was born and raised in Youngstown, and then back then when I first got into BMX, it was Section 8 skate park, and dudes like Steve Cuesta, who I'm sure you know, Cuesta, going down there when I was a kid, just watching dudes ride at Section 8 and wanting to do that. So I was lucky enough to grow up there and be inspired by some of those guys, and then my folks and me and my little brother moved to Delaware, Ohio after, I think it was 8th grade. So I grew up down in Columbus.
Okay.
Which, ironically, it's you move away from one of the best indoor skate parks in Ohio to move closer to another of the best indoor skate parks in Ohio. I had to flow 35 minutes away from my house.
Yeah.
So I went there, and there was a ton of Columbus dudes that even to this day, I still love seeing them and still love catching up with them because they were just absolute shredders. Like Jake Colson, Kevin Teets, and a couple of those other guys from Columbus are just absolute animals on bikes. But then military happened, blah, 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 go through that. Too many stories about military, I can tell you, but it's, that ended me.
It's a big part of your life.
Yeah, it was,
right? So
it honestly got me to where I am now. I wouldn't have anything that I have in my life without the military, but the one thing other than my wife and my kids that came from that was, ending up in Nebraska. hashtag first person to ever say ending up in Nebraska was like the best thing that ever happened to him. But yeah, I ended up out there, and I think about a year or so after I ended up out in Nebraska, that's when we linked up online, and it seemed like it was just two dudes. You had GrindWorks, and I had the Barend guy thing starting, and we were like, hey, you want to support each other's jams? And like I think I kicked you like 5 or 6 pairs of Barends for one of your jams. People were stoked on getting the Barends, and then you came out and kicked stuff in for my jam. So it's just always been like a positive relationship between GrindWorks and the Barend guy, and even like, and yeah, I'll pause. I have a feeling that there's an opening for you to continue talking there.
I was gonna say, I haven't switched them over to my new bike, but I
still
have
my Barends on the bike.
Barends, yeah.
Yeah. The one, I think I saw a picture of it a couple months ago, but Zach Gerber, you know, like one of the most underrated street riders probably in the history of BMX, and that's all my opinion before anybody gets angry at me. But he's been running them since like I came out with them, and they were worn down to basically just like handlebar. They were only plugging up the end of his bars at this point, so like I gave him a new set, and he's stoked on them now again too. So that was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think where we were gonna interject a little bit was I only know you from your Nebraska days. Really. Even since you've been back in the area here, we have not crossed paths.
Yeah, I know, it's a weird thing, man. Like, I came back here, for those of anybody who cares to know. I lived out in Nebraska, and then February of last year, we decided that we were going to sell our house and move back to Youngstown. Cheaper to live here, family was close, my kids deserved to grow up around their grandparents. I have a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old. So the move came like with a lot of heavy hearts, because like we were leaving Nebraska right at probably one of the most pivotal times for what's going on out there right now with the NoWear BMX guys. Like, I was a huge part of every aspect of NoWear BMX, and then like left right as all this stuff was going down. So it was a struggle for me emotionally when I got back, but I've been getting more into it, and like both my sons now are riding constantly. Like my 8-year-old bugs me. He's like, "Well, can we go out in the driveway and ride?" And I've got all sorts of cinder block plywood ramps off the side of my driveway right now for him to ride. And yeah, then that's just what I've been doing here lately. My work schedule kind of keeps me from being able to go out and ride a lot, and then I work on Sunday mornings. So like out of town trips and stuff, even like to go to the jams in New York that you guys are doing. It's just a struggle for me because I have to be able to drive up and back in like the same night. So it is what it is. I'm trying to get out more and ride, but hopefully by the end of this summer I'll have a little garage ramp going on, like a little Behringer style bowl.
That'd be cool.
So I'm hoping to be able to put something together like that, and then a bunch of movable driveway stuff just for my kids and me to ride, like a little 3-foot street spine and banks and a grind ledge and stuff like that, because I have a pretty decent sized driveway. And then eventually outdoor ramp, and then just invite everybody to my house because I'm lazy and can't drive anywhere. Just say, hey, come over to my house and ride my ramp.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's cool though, like to have your own spot, because I don't know how far away you technically lived from Carl's place and the whole.
It was. I lived exactly when I was out there. I lived exactly 1 hour from his house. Okay, so you weren't super close,
no. but in terms of Nebraska and the fact that it's like one giant cornfield,
an hour out there is just driving down one county road to the next city. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Nebraska's little town. Big gap of cornfields, little town, big gap. So an hour out there is not that big of a deal. It's not like driving an hour out here, like where you got to take a turnpike, you got to pay tolls, you got to go into a city and do all that other stuff.
Well, but I mean, on that same note, an hour out there could be 70 miles.
Yeah,
and an hour here can be 20 miles.
20, yeah, exactly. Where like when I moved back, I thght to myself, I'm like, oh man, Ray's, the wheel mill, I'll be at all the indoor parks all the time because they're still only an hour away from my house. But like an hour out here is like a painful drive compared to an hour out there. Out there, you just roll the windows down and cruise out to the cornfields.
Yeah, put it on cruise and don't even look.
Yeah, you don't really have to pay attention to anything. Out here, there's people switching lanes on the turnpike and going 100 miles an hour and everything. I kind of miss the slower pace of Nebraska.
Do you regret your decision to come back here?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Like, and that's not any disrespect to any of my family and BMX friends back in Nebraska, but like I think there's a lot of things setting up for me right now, like to where I'm trying to the place where I work. I hope to in like a year or two buy the place and like become an entrepreneur and own my own business. To where out in Nebraska that probably would have never happened. Like I probably would have had fun riding bikes forever, which is very important to me, but I probably would have had a job that I hated throughout that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now I have a job that's decent and I can still ride sometimes, but it's more few and far between. But like the older I get, the less it bothers me because riding with my kids is definitely like the number one thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm trying to film a 30 for 30 at it because I turn 30 next year, almost exactly a year from this date.
That's not even an edit. 30 clips is a video part.
I don't know. I just always told myself that would be something that I could accomplish, but I'm on, I think I have 9 clips since January 1st of this year. So we're 6 months into the year already almost, and 9 clips. That doesn't add up to 30 by the time it comes around the other side. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, you gotta go for it.
Gotta try to. I gotta keep riding, like, because I do a lot of weird stuff. I don't know. That's the other funny thing about me and you is like we never really have gotten to session together. Like even at the jam, like
you were hurt.
I had just had shoulder surgery, so I couldn't ride at the jam. So the more I think about that, and then we've missed crossing paths at the wheel mill a couple times.
I've been out to Wedgwood a couple of times, and I hit you up, and I get. Well, you had a little while, and you may still be in there, but you had kind of shut yourself off from social media when you moved. When you moved from Nebraska to Youngstown,
I forgot that
you kind of shut yourself off. You went back to a flip phone and everything.
Yep.
So
I
would shoot you a message, and it might be 8 hours before you even checked your phone.
I did like a hardcore digital detox last year to where like I went back to having a non-smartphone, which still to this day I don't know how I pulled it off for 9 months because I can't find my way out of a paper bag. So like not having a GPS on my smartphone back then was for that was all last year almost that I did that, and I was constantly getting lost. I was borrowing my grandma's Tom to be able to get to Ray's in Cleveland because I didn't know what I was doing. And now that I have an iPhone again, I'm just like you just got to be smart with the technology usage and not have your face in it constantly. But the GPS feature alone is worth the cell phone bill to me because I get lost going anywhere.
Yeah, but I think that was probably like half the reason we didn't get to link up was because I would come out to Youngstown. And granted, I never really made the plan. It would be like the night before, or even the morning of. We would let's go Wedgwood today, and then go out there. And I probably wouldn't have texted you until I got there. Yeah. And be like, hey, I'm in Youngstown right now, and then you get the message a handful of hours later, and you're like, well, that would have been cool, but thanks for the thought.
I've always, and I forever appreciate that, especially if anybody's listening to this and you've hit me up to go riding and I couldn't go or didn't show or something, like, I appreciate you including me in that stuff. Like, if I say I'm going to be somewhere, I go there. Like, if I can make plans to do things like what we did with this, then I'll be there. That's the hard part for me. It was like having 2 kids, working 40 hours a week. Sometimes it gets like, oh, you guys are coming tomorrow. Like I had planned to do this with my, go to the Pittsburgh Zoo or something else like that. Yeah. So the older you get, the more I have to plan my sessions out 3, 5, 8 days in advance to be able to go do them. Luckily, I have a woman who's very supportive of BMX, and she's always like, oh, you got the day off Wednesday, or you have time to go ride, you should try to go ride. And like, I do my best to try to ride.
My wife's the same way, in the sense of like, be like, well, we're gonna go to the zoo tonight, right, or something, I'm gonna be like, tonight's the only nice night you're gonna get. You should probably go riding. Like, all right.
One of the
I'm not gonna argue with that.
One of the things that having a woman who is supportive of BMX is like game changing. Any of the dudes out there with girlfriends who hate your bike, just dump your girlfriends. Seriously, I don't even feel bad about saying it. Find a girl that supports BMX because it makes BMX way more fun.
And that's not to say, like, the couple of months when you're freshly dating and you don't ride that much.
Oh,
like,
that's cool, man. Everybody likes the beginning of a relationship.
But you know what's up.
Yeah. Your bike was your first love. Always remember that. Your bike's never broken your heart.
Maybe once or twice.
Broken my ass.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Do we cuss on the GrindWorks podcast?
You can say whatever you want.
I'll keep the cussing to a minimum.
I don't really care. I mark them all as explicit just because
just to be safe, so nobody ever takes
them
down.
I mean, I don't worry about anyone's expectations or anything. Like, there are no expectations in my eyes. As soon as you set expectations, you set someone up for a letdown.
Yeah. Yeah, don't put people on pedestals, for sure, or expect things out. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
That's one of the things I've always felt with doing this project in particular, and I know I've said it on here a bunch of times, so it's probably like, oh, here's this again. But I'm not trying to play a character on here either.
Yeah. No.
So there's like anything I do is pretty much me, and like it or not, that is what it is. You know, if you're not into something I'm doing, that's fine, man.
Well, nobody understands that more than I do, man. Like, look at all the stuff that I have been a part of and that we've done with the guys out in Nebraska, like we were talking about. To segue back around to connect it back to that whole thing. I mean, you've seen our frames that we came out with. You've seen our handlebars. I mean, the bent crossbar, the down tube that does the little step thing on there. I mean, I'm all about being unique and just being yourself. And that's how we've always been. And I'm down to ride with, hang out with, talk to anybody who just wants to be themselves. So I appreciate you bringing me on here today to do this. Because this isn't scripted. I'm sitting here drinking Dr. Pepper and just talking to Andy in his apartment. And, like, this is an honor.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming out. I'm glad it worked out anyway. So we got... I've not talked to Carl hardly at all.
He's a hard guy to get a hold of nowadays.
I talked to him maybe 2 minutes at Ray's one day. I think it was like the Old Fools weekend or something.
Yeah,
I think you guys were all out.
Yeah.
I feel really bad about this. I forget your buddy's name. Rode the 22 or 24-inch bike. Mike, maybe?
No, it's Scuba Steve.
Scuba Steve, yeah.
Steve, Big Steve Stahl, man.
So,
yeah,
so I rode with him, like, at your jam, we rode together a bunch. Yeah. And then we had a good session out here at Ray's when he was in town with Carl.
Yeah, I think I missed that trip. Because I remember, I missed that trip coming out to my home state, which was funny because I was in Nebraska, couldn't make a trip to Ohio, and I ended up getting stuck back in Nebraska during that. Like, remember one of our homies on that trip, he ended up, his power of attorney that Carl had for him because he was 17 wasn't good anymore, so he couldn't ride Changa, he couldn't ride the whole trip, he drove all the way to Ohio and couldn't ride because he didn't have a power of attorney to sign the waiver. I remember that. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as Carl goes, man, that dude is running at 1,000 miles a minute.
Well, so you'll appreciate this, and I'm sure he will too if he watches this at all. But I've had a note from him on my desk since last year's jam.
Okay.
And it's just, it's a little note about, stoked that he could sponsor the jam. Sorry he couldn't send more, but
yeah,
like, I love these little notes like this when people send product or just anything. Like, the personal touch means a lot to me, and like, I try to do the same thing when I, if someone places an order, I don't always do it, but I try to like scribble a little handwritten note on the order, like, thanks, or
it's that
send a little bit extra,
It's that personal touch that makes the connection more real too. I mean, you're not just hitting up a company that's just sending you product because it's a jam. He's not looking at it as advertising.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking at it as just supporting more jams. Like, I've watched him say, yes, I can support your jam before, but he could send 2 t-shirts. Yeah. Like, that's all he had to do at the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. The personal touch makes it that much more of a camaraderie feeling between 2 companies or 2 jams or whatever it is, as opposed to feeling awkward about the relationship.
And as of, this moment, it's not June yet. And our jams are middle of July and late July. But I just got a whole bunch of stickers.
I saw it. There's a lot of them. I think 2,500, right? Is that what you said?
No, you're just setting me up to sound stupid. 2,450. If I said 2,500, it would be a lie.
As soon as he started pulling them out of the box, I go, how did you land on such an arbitrary number? He goes, I just ordered so many of this, and that's what it added up to.
So, we got a bunch of new stickers, and I'm sure by the time this is up, you'll have all seen them on Instagram, but I don't really plan on doing too much with them until it jams.
Yeah.
But I need to hit Caro up, see if he wants to support our jams, and I need to shoot him a bunch of stickers for the Cornhucket jam that he's going to be doing.
Yeah, Cornhucket, man. That's crazy that you say Cornhucket. What are the dates for your guys' 2 jams in July?
I don't want to get these wrong, but July 13th is the Pittsburgh Street Jam. July 27th is the HCS Jam, the Binghamton Jam.
Well, ironically, the Cornhucket this year is on the same day as the Pittsburgh Street Jam.
It was the same day as the Pittsburgh Jam last year.
Yeah, it was. It was the same date, and I promise that's not something we planned out.
No, because they're never even the same month.
Yeah. Yeah, last year I think Cornhucket was in June.
Yeah.
And this year it's in July. I remember the first year it was in August. It might have even been September. I don't remember. It was like it's meant to be like the end of the year or end of the summer or middle of the summer big bash out in Nebraska. And I mean, it's honestly like a Woodstock event. I'm bummed that I've never gotten to go to any of your guys' event because I mean I see you guys rolling in big packs for those street jams and everything like that. So basically, I mean, if you're trying to make up your mind which direction to go, pick one. Don't miss one of them. Like that's my thoughts. Like support the jams. Either come out to Nebraska or go to Pittsburgh for sure.
Yeah, a couple of my friends from Illinois last year, like Chicago area, were like, "Dude, I'm torn. I don't know which one to go to." And it's like, whichever one you want, man. They're both gonna be a good time.
Yeah. Well, I can promise you one thing. If you go to Cornhucket, there's probably not gonna be a whole lot of street to ride. So. Not that I'm saying go to one or the other, but Cornhucket is out at Carl's house. Ride ramps, dirt jumps, stuff that's out there at his place. He has a semi-truck trailer now that you can jump off of. Mm-hmm. All sorts of crazy things going out there. There's a 200-year-old barn that's got a indoor, like 4-foot quarter mini setup inside of it, and then he's currently working on the big non-profit project, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But yeah, man, you guys got to go to one of the jams. Go to Pittsburgh. Go to Cornhucket.
Carl is a fascinating character. Not to go off topic a ton here.
Can't wait till he hears that line.
Well, so I don't really know him that well, so I can't make educated comments here. But from anything I've ever seen, there's a lot of unwarranted hate that goes his way.
I did not see this conversation going this way, but let's. Yeah.
I just I don't know him.
Here's our interpretation. Here's the interpretation that I get and he gets from stuff, right? The term unwarranted hate seems a little bit weird to me because I don't think any of it's hatred. I really don't. Like, and because me and him are probably 2 of the most positive people when it comes to that stuff. Like, we ride goofy looking bikes, goofy looking handlebars. Mm-hmm. The dude still does
do whatever you want on a bike.
He has a mohawk and he's in his 40s, dude. Like, you just be yourself and do what you want to do, right? And I don't ever view it as hate because I just think it's people that either haven't had the opportunity to come hang out with us out of the compound or haven't had the opportunity to physically get on one of our bikes and ride it to feel, oh yeah, that looks looks goofy as all get out. Looks like something that you wouldn't see anywhere else. But it rides. Yeah, it rides just like any other bike.
Or better, depending on what you like.
Like for me, it improves some things for me. So other people, it might not improve.
So I was talking specifically. There were a handful of comments that I've seen over the years, and they were more personal jabs. They were not like, "Oh, your bike looks goofy." Like, okay, who cares? But no, I just seen like certain comments, and it'll be like weird comments here and there.
So
I can't cite one specifically. So
I know where you're going with it. Is there have been a couple of moments in which comments have been made against one of the people character or them as a person, Carl specifically or anything. I think the hardest thing for people to wrap their head around is that there's a guy, a mid-school / old school BMX rider guy that lives out in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, who's trying to create something that's never been created or done before. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say that it's never been done before, because there are other people who have created quote-unquote compounds or created backyard ramp setups, and they've been legendary throughout BMX history, right? Mm-hmm. Ben Snowden's house, there was so much stuff that went down out there. Berenger's house back in the day.
Yep.
It has been done before, but not done in the sense of something for children. Like it's for
other people.
It's for other people. Specifically, one of the biggest things that he runs on is trying to help kids do something else. Nebraska, they've got 5 months out of the year that's nice, and the rest of the time it's pretty much cold. Just like Pennsylvania, just like Ohio. When we were growing up, one of the hardest things in the world would have been not having an indoor place to go to. But I know damn well, being somebody from Ohio, I always had somewhere to go in the wintertime. There's still always somewhere to go in the wintertime now. We're out there, the closest indoor skate park out there is like 7 or 8 hours away.
Yeah.
You're talking going to Denver, up to Minneapolis, all the way over somewhere, I think to Illinois. There's a skate park in Illinois. I don't remember off the top of my head. And then there's one down in Kansas City, I think, that's several hours away. But none of them are free. His place is completely free. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine just bringing on the stress of just letting people come out to my house for free and knowing he's covering all the bills for everything.
I don't remember where this interview was or comment came from, but I loved when he was talking about just like waking up and seeing people camped out in his yard.
I was telling you about this.
Okay,
yeah. One morning, his wife's leaving for work because she has a normal, 9 to 5 job. She was leaving for work and just calls him and goes, "Hey, there's people sleeping in tents on the driveway." And he goes, "Oh, no problem. I'll pour myself a cup of coffee and go down there and check." And sure enough, walks down his property to these people sleeping in tents, and they were 2 shredders from, I can't remember, California or something. Dude's just rolling through and found out about the place. That's real life. You could do that if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't send him a text or send him a call first.
Yeah, you should probably drop a DM or something.
Yeah, let old boy know that you're coming over to his house first. But if you are in the area and you just need a place to stay, he's the most giving person I've ever met in my life. And a lot of people are super confused about how this whole project's going with the nonprofit right now, because Carl's wife has her own job. She went to college, she's educated, she has a very good job, right? A lot of people don't realize that without his wife, he wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff that he's doing. He also is a picker on the side. So the dude goes to garage sales, finds antiques, collectibles, appliances, furniture, what have you, and flips it and sells it. Always pays his taxes, always does everything he's supposed to do. That's how he makes income, and then he has NoWear. But then now on top of that, he's got the nonprofit, which brings in money. That money is specifically and 100% only going towards that building.
Yeah, it has to. I mean, I think legally he can take a paycheck, but it has to be a very established paycheck.
It would have to be
in, but any income has to go back into the nonprofit.
One thing he always wanted this nonprofit to be, and not only he, but me, him, and his wife, because I'm the third person on the nonprofit board underneath him and his wife, was that it was 100% a nonprofit.
Right.
He didn't ever want that to be the lines blurred on any of that stuff.
So that's what I'm saying. Though legally, he could.
I think there's
take
a way
paycheck,
for any
but
nonprofit corporation to pay certain employees.
They have to.
Yeah.
For most
My dad
instances.
works for a nonprofit and he gets paid. So I mean, I know that it exists, but I can tell you right now that NoWear BMX nonprofit does not bring in enough money to.
I did not expect that he was trying to take a paycheck or anything.
The funny thing is, and like I'm not saying names or pointing any fingers towards anybody because it's all been social media hearsay or whatever else or comments like you've said. There have been people that have spread things and said that he's taken money
like that
he's taken money from it, and it just makes me laugh. I'm like, dude, if only you could sit down and look at the Excel documents of the dude counts the coins in the donation jar at stunt shows and writes it onto an Excel doc. Like today we raised $27.48.
Mm-hmm.
He's got it down to the gnat's ass of the cent where every dollar is gone, and now we're over 67,000.
You have to running a nonprofit.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone understands.
I've never met somebody who takes that stuff as serious as he does.
Yeah, and so it circles back to like those comments fly, and you see, I'll take your stance and say negative, but I really do feel in the sense that I was talking that they are hateful comments. Hurtful is maybe a better word.
Okay.
When they're personal,
Yeah.
Say what you want about our bike parts, our the way we ride them, the way we dress, whatever.
There's been ones, man, that I'll give you. There's been stuff, but in the spirit of the positivity that we bring out in NoWear, like that stuff's so far in the past now, and I will say that a lot of the people who have ever made those comments have since talked like adults, and we've chatted, and things are a lot better than they've ever been.
And I was going to say, I find it hard to believe that when you look at the big picture of what NoWear is doing for BMX in general, but specifically in Nebraska, how can you hate on it? You can look at the bars and say, those things look stupid. Okay, whatever. But you can't look at the fact that he's got a barn full of ramps, an outdoor compound full of ramps.
Not to mention dirt, 80-foot bike.
I mean, he's kind of got the trails. He's got whatever. But now putting up the nonprofit indoor park, like, you can't hate on what this dude's doing. You don't have to like him as a person. You don't have to like the parts. But NoWear BMX is not a bad thing.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, 110%. I think that alone, and it's not so much for me like knowing I'm a part of this and I feel so confident in it that I don't care that people make comments or one way or another. It's just that at the end of the day, more and more people, these great people that are stepping up and like making a donation or helping out to the nonprofit or coming out to the Carl's house and working, donating time and labor to everything that we're doing, those people are seeing exactly what you said. Like, how can you hate on this? Let's get on this side of the bandwagon and be a positive change instead of saying any other, like hiding back on social media or anything like that.
I mean, I would counter with, what have you done for your scene? To anyone that's making those negative comments.
I totally could see that being, but a lot of times though, man, like me, Carl specifically.
But
I try to
that's not a positive approach to handling that. To retort with, well, what have you done for your?
No, it's not, and that's what I'm saying is that he is unbelievable in the sense that if somebody makes that comment, he's the first one to go, dude, please come out, please come ride, please come hang out with us, please do this, that, and the other thing. You're welcome here. Even after spewing whatever thing, like he will hit them with, hey, my house is always open. Come on out and see for yourself. Mm-hmm. Or, ride one of the, there are those opportunities where you could respond back with, well, what have you done with your scene? But at the end of the day, where the hell does that get you? Yeah. Ever. You know what I mean? Like, that's always going to be everybody's first thought in their head. But the ability to not say it is the difference.
It's the thought from an outsider's perspective, for sure.
You're saying from your perspective as a supporter of NoWear, looking at other people?
I mean, so I support for sure what NoWear is doing.
Yeah.
But I cannot call myself a supporter of NoWear because honestly, I've never bought any NoWear stuff. I don't believe I have any NoWear stuff.
Dude,
I might have a sticker, the proud parent of a BMX rider sticker.
Yeah.
But I don't know where it is.
No, and that makes total sense, man. And I think
So I just feel like it's disingenuous if I was like, oh yeah, I'm a NoWear supporter. I've never supported NoWear.
I think it's
other than supporting the jams and sponsoring them.
I think it's separate though, because even now you could support the nonprofit or just a bike company because they're two separate entities at this point.
That's fair.
So for you to say you support, I would say you support the nonprofit. You support that movement. You would tell somebody, hey, if you got $10, donate it. That sounds like support to me.
And I mean support in the sense of like, you know, if someone says something about the bars, like, hey, what are those V bars?
Yeah.
When you see them, it's like, oh, they're nowhere. Hit them up.
Yeah.
Like,
seeing that alone, dude, that support right there to me, as a positive person and like doing what we've done through this thing. That alone is like more. Thank you for that level of support. You know what I mean? That's how little it is.
I feel the same way with GrindWorks stuff. You know, if someone's like shouting them out, that's more than enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't want to give the false impression off too. You know.
No, I don't ever think that support is only in a monetized sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree.
I don't think it ever has to come down to money because BMX has always been one of those sports that you don't really need to be wealthy or have a lot of money to be able to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. You know, it helps travel and stuff like that, but I think money is like the least important part. If you have two dudes that like your whole crew could come out to Nebraska and ride with everybody in Nebraska or come to Ohio and ride with everybody there because you guys are just BMX riders and you're chill about it and you just come ride. And that right there means more to me than anything, is having friends like that.
Yeah. That
I could invite you to anywhere and we're going to have fun on our bikes because at the end of the day, the bicycle is the only thing that really matters, you know?
Yep.
So, and getting kids on bikes and more people on bikes, none of that is ever a negative thing. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't even touch on, I know, the stunt shows and stuff. You mentioned it in passing of donation jars for the nonprofit and stuff, but like just more giving to the community, doing stuff to help get kids on bikes and keep kids on bikes and, you know, just all of that. I just can't see how people don't like it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Again, if you hate the bars, think they're stupid, hate the way the frame looks, good for you.
And that's how every one of the people that ride one, anybody that rides one, you can't make fun of it. I purchased the frame knowing darn well that the top tube looked the way that it did. You can't make fun of it. There's nothing to make fun of. It's just different. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I was telling you before we started the podcast, like you're one of the first dudes that I saw doing weird things to your bike to make your bike work better for you. Like the guards that you created, I've seen you weld ones onto your frame that nobody else has done. It's not been a thing I've ever seen. You run 5-inch long pegs. How much more unique could that be? Like that's to help you do what you like to do on the bike. And that little thing, that little bar on that frame, 100% it was designed initially for Carl to be able to do frame stand 540 taps on easier. And it just so happened to work out that it gave you more clearance and everything else. But it was literally the same concept as what you did to your bike to make it work better for you. Mm-hmm. And then the geometry of the frame just adapted to a very aggressive park riding frame, or a tech frame, if you will.
So, I will correct you. I've never welded anything on my bike.
Oh,
I can't weld.
You had somebody do it.
I can weld. It's not pretty, and it doesn't really stay together. So
those guards didn't work.
But I can take a welder, turn it on, zap some stuff, and watch it fall apart after. I'm real good at that.
I got excited. I thought that was like a working thing that did work for you on there.
No, they work awesome, but I can't do it. My buddy Derek Nelson.
Derek's the guy that rides a really heavy bike, right?
So he has ran the integrated hub guards for, I don't know, like over 10 years now. He's done it to everything he's ever had that I've seen. And he's just recently started doing it on his forks as well.
Like capping around the hubs under the pegs.
Yeah.
Huh.
And he's been trying to get me to do that on mine. And, like, not that I don't believe him that it'll work, because I understand why it will, but I just, you know, the extra investment that goes into parts to make that happen.
Yeah. I
trust that my frame is going to last a year or more. And that the investment to modify it is worthwhile. On a pair of forks, I don't feel like the investment is worthwhile.
That's such a sketchy place on the bike to start like adding. To me, that's like your dropouts is like the one place on your bike that I don't want to heat back up and stress anything. I mean, if it works for Derek, it works for Derek.
Well, I mean, he is reheat treating them.
Oh, he does?
Yep.
Oh, well, then
so there's a post weld.
Yeah, that's a moot point then. I mean, if you're going the extra mile to reheat treat them, then that's a different story. But I don't know. I've broken a dropout off of a fork before, and it's not a fun.
Yeah, no, it's not just welded on and walked away from.
Got it.
That's for
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of that because personally, I've always hated the aluminum guards. Like the classic FBM style ones that just went on. They always just smash in or break over time.
S&M came out with one a long time ago that was like that cymbal guard where it was rounded out, and I like that one a lot more than the other ones, I don't know. I don't grind.
The notched ones, like the Primo style,
yeah.
And then like a bunch of people have done them after Daily Grind, whatever. They don't have the structure. You know, it's got a groove out of it where it needs to have material, and they just break. And if you're cool with replacing parts all the time, then those work for you.
Yeah. Now
most of them are plastic anyway, and I can't get behind it. I just don't like it.
See, it's so weird. Like, I like your riding so much that it's funny because, like, I ride a gyro, a brake lever. I'm a weight weenie on my bike. Unfortunately, I rode your guys' pegs for a while, and they were my favorite pegs I ever ran. But I'm such a weight weenie. I run aluminum pegs now.
I can't take you seriously calling yourself a weight weenie running 4 pegs in a gyro.
I know, that's what somebody else said. They're like, how?
And front brakes, like.
I don't have front brakes anymore.
Okay.
I took the front brakes off, but it I'm like a weight weenie in the sense that I want my bike that looks heavy to weigh less so that my lazy old butt can whip it around easier. Like, I got those Tublido tubes, those orange tubes that cost $40 a piece. I don't know why I did it, but I'll tell you right now, it makes the wheels feel great to me. But see, I don't even have hub guards. Like, I run tree hubs with no guards on them at all, and run.
So I'm gonna pass one of these to you real quick, just because it's gonna make you cringe a little bit.
Okay.
But have you ever felt a Primo wall? Just because I ride these all the time.
Felt like how stiff the tire is?
How heavy it is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so anybody who can't see what's in this room right now, Andrew has 1, 2, 3, 4 what appear to be pretty much brand new sets.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much.
And a used set.
Of Primo wall tires, back in the day. And these things feel like you could kill somebody with them. These weigh more than both my tires on my bike combined.
I've pulled 1/2-inch long chunks of steel and wood splinters out of them and not had flat tires too.
See, that's the beauty of, like, you have to have your bike set up for what works for you. And
I'm gonna say shout out to Primo for making the literal best tires.
Do they still
ever.
make them?
They discontinued them maybe 4 years ago.
Wow, I didn't realize they made them that long.
But I buy them anywhere I find them now.
That's how I feel about demolition, the old demolition grips with, like, the straight up just
the waffles,
grips.
The demolition team grips.
Yes, if anybody has those, I'll have Andrew put my address in the description of the video.
I might have a set of them on my race bike still.
Oh my god, that was my favorite pair of grips. And then, the shout out to Bob Mead on this one, but the really old MacNeil Imperial seats that looked like kind of like the Dave Mira seats that they just brought back out.
Puffy ones.
Yeah, like I've always wanted to run one of those seats too, and I've never been able to find one. I know Bob, like a long time ago, found like a box full of them and bought them all. Orange ones, white ones, everything. And he's been a diehard fan of those. But Primo wall tires.
Anyway, from the weight weenie aspect, you're talking light tubes. I'm like, get the heaviest tires.
What is your bike weigh? I know you probably don't know because
I've never weighed it. I could care less.
Oh god, I have 4 of the foundation pegs on too, the heavy ones. The original pegs.
Yeah, I took the 5s off because I really liked the 4.5 inch. The 5 inch make me angry.
Just get like they were just in the way.
So I really like riding tight tranny stuff and like diving into really tight things, and they're right at the point where you can't get steep enough without kind of cratering out. So they would ping off of everything that I dove into, and I'm like, I can't take these things anymore.
Yeah, I mean the catch is one time and you go straight over the bar.
No, it would just scrape or chink off the wall or whatever I was diving into, and I'm like, I can't do it.
I take back every compliment I gave Andrew's bike earlier. He didn't weld the
I know, I'm a fraud.
He's a fraud.
I mean, I was running the 5 inch until about 3 weeks ago.
Look at how long these pegs are.
And I was gonna put the 4.5 inch streetlights back on, and I'm like, you know what? I just really love the way those foundations grind. They're so thick that there's no deflection in them, so there's zero energy loss. Like you want to talk about pegs not sliding? It's because they got made so paper thin that all of the energy into the grind got lost in deflection of metal.
Tell me more. I'm fascinated. What the hell does that mean?
So
you're saying that the stiffer the peg, when the impact occurs to the peg, the vibration and impact stay in the peg?
You're not denting or flexing it, right? So all of your energy and momentum transfers into a grind. But if you dent or deflect the metal and bend it, it's so much energy is lost in bending the metal that there's none left for the grind.
Huh.
So everything will feel sticky if you're running tiny little thin paper pegs.
Like I do.
Well, you're also running aluminum ones, so it's kind of its own discussion.
Yeah, I don't have any expectation of grinding when I put my pegs on things.
Then there's also the discussion of relative roughness. So the larger diameter, rougher surfaces and everything feel smooth when the diameter is larger.
It's the same concept as like a 20-inch bike versus a 29-inch wheel.
Yeah.
I'd rather run over a log with a 29-inch wheel than a 20-inch wheel.
Yeah, it's going to feel like you didn't run over anything.
So a bigger, rounder peg technically gives you more surface area to spread the grind out on, or what?
It's round, so it's still instantaneously one point.
Yeah.
Until you start wearing your peg in a little bit. And all pegs will flat spot to a certain point where your weight and distribution is equivalent to like just, it evens the surface area out to normalize a little bit.
I guess I never put that much thought into grinding, but if you own a company called GrindWorks, I guess you'd have to know all that stuff.
Yeah.
Who do you do GrindWorks with? So
there's 2 other people that were originally part of the project.
Yeah. Sorry if this is a repeat from
no, it's fine. I don't mind answering and talking. Like I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and I don't know if you do too.
I'm starting to get a lot more into it now.
And it almost bothers me when people deflect questions about themselves, or like, well, this isn't my interview. Like, we're only talking about you, and like, this is a conversation.
Yeah,
so,
I want to know just as much about you.
GrindWorks started when I broke my ankle.
Okay, seems like a logical step after breaking an ankle.
We were out of town in Bethlehem, PA it was like a Butcher's the Block Shop / Animal something jam.
Yeah.
And I was trying to film a clip of a trick that I had landed earlier in the day during the jam. I wadded my ankle up. Oh, videos on YouTube.
I have to check that
Not on the GrindWorks page, although I could upload it. Comment if you want to see it.
This is not a vlog.
It's also on the Instagram at some point. Probably my private and whatever. Anyway, folded my ankle up. Had to have surgery in Bethlehem, so I was stuck about 3 hours out of town.
Oh, that's brutal, man. That's like one thing
I've
always.
For 3 days, I think. My buddies had to drive my car home and left me there while my parents, or my mom and my wife, drove down to stay with me.
Oh my gosh.
So it was pretty rough. Anyway, when I had gotten back up there, we kind of like, what are we gonna do for the next 5 months? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like how long is it gonna take to recover from the surgery?
Yeah.
So it's like, man, let's just make stuff. Like, I hate all the pegs that we've ever ridden since the last 5 years. The last good pegs, in my opinion, were Odyssey GI pegs.
Wow, that's been a while ago.
And they were sold in the good pair.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were just good. And actually, that was what I was running at that time.
Yeah.
I had found an old set.
So then you guys just linked up and found a machine shop, or is it one of the guys that you're with that can make them?
No, neither of them. The one worked at a bike shop, and the other one, I don't remember what he was doing at the time. I think he might have actually just recently lost his job.
Oh, okay.
So he was essentially no help. He helped a lot with the graphic side.
Yeah.
He was doing some Photoshop work with us. Helped out in that sense, but when it came to getting shirts made, printed, getting parts made, getting, just anything done, we just got very frustrated because there was no ability to help out monetarily.
Yeah.
And we're trying to kick this off and pay attention and keep everything equal and pay people back out of it.
Yeah.
If you invested $2,000, we're gonna eventually make that back over the course of a couple of batches, right? But it was to the point where it was a drastic difference in how much we had invested versus the other person, okay. And we're like, look it, man, this is gonna be rough, but you're not helping, so you're not in.
So now it's just you and one other
guy? Since then, it's really just we had a little bit of a hard time for a while with that, and then still throws his 2 cents in, still helps us out with graphics. One of these sticker designs is his.
Word.
So, he's never really been out, and he's still listed on the GrindWorks page.
So you do just have a machine?
It's just 3 of them. So I just sub them out to any machine shop that I work with through work. Oh. So if we have a lot of work going on, and I've got an order in with the pegs, I, in good conscience, have to be look don't work on these right now. Work is priority.
On the stuff that's not GrindWorks stuff.
Yeah. So if I have a lot of work through my job, going through the machine shop, and I've been hey man, these pegs are I need them, I have to, in good faith, be you can't work on these right now.
Go with your employer stuff and stuff.
Yeah. Because realistically, GrindWorks, I don't want to say this and I don't want it to sound wrong, GrindWorks doesn't matter. In
just the grand scheme of life, you mean?
Well,
or what?
So one of the things that I've always wanted personally with GrindWorks, and I know this is not an ideal shared by all 3 original members, but I would never quit my job over GrindWorks. If GrindWorks got to the point where it was so big that it was like a full-time job and I had to start really buckling down to work on it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Well, that just sounds like it's just in a different tier of prioritization in your life. It's not that it doesn't matter. It's just that you have a head on your shoulders to the point where you're like, I got a wife, a kid, and a future and a career. I think you're just really good at prioritizing.
So I think the point of that though is that when I would look at it, I would say, I don't ever want it to be big enough where if I stopped doing it, it affects other people.
Oh, I see.
So I would like it to be like, if I can't afford to make another batch of pegs right now, or I can't make shirts, that's cool.
That's kind of where I came to with the Barend guy stuff. So like in the beginning, how I quote unquote summed it up like too fast, like you said, it just got to a point where like I found another person that could make them for me, but that quote came back so high that I was like, who in the right mind is going to want to pay me $30 for a pair of Barends? Like, that's insane. I wouldn't do that. Like, I bought a pair of Barends off of Barend that were $50, but they're made of titanium. Again,
yeah.
Weight weenie, whatever.
Well,
but
and sure, you'll get your specialty niche stuff. Like, people that want something special. I did those 5-inch pegs. We did custom runs.
I saw that.
And it was whatever length you want, but you have to buy 4. I don't care if you're only going to run 2 of them. I don't care if you're going to run 3 of them. I don't care if you're going to run 1 of them. You have to buy 4.
Seems like a logical way. If you want custom length pegs, you got to pay for them.
And they were expensive. They were $100 a set.
For 4?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's expensive though.
But it's custom length.
You're talking custom length pegs and pegs made out of a material that clearly they last.
What people didn't know that we did with it was custom packaging. So they had your name in the packaging and everything.
I remember seeing the tops of all the little cardboard flaps had like you hand wrote the sizes that were in.
I had them printed that way.
Oh, you printed them like that.
I did custom graphics for all of those. Had all the toppers printed with the person's Instagram name and length that they ordered. I mean, we did a really good job on them, in my opinion, and I'm a little bit biased on that. But when you're asking for certain stuff, you understand there's a cost.
Well, what's a normal peg off the street's $19.99 for one.
Yeah.
So what's $24.99 for a custom one?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I could see if I was able to ever do Barends again, and I could do like, you know how they had the diamond on the end of them? If I was able to offer like, there's a company out of Cleveland right now. Some dude's doing like laser engraving on top of like top caps for mountain bikes and stuff. If I had the technology to like anodize my Barend smooth and then go back through
and laser
and custom like, do one that says GrindWorks or grind some shit on it just for like you guys as like a custom pair, then I think I could get back into a niche-y thing with Barends and charge $25 a piece for them.
This interview has not aired yet. I haven't put it up. The last episode I recorded was with Mitch McCracken. Local dude here.
Probably
runs MHS Manufacturing, I think.
Okay.
So it's kind of a side business for him. He's doing 1-off, 2-off, small run aluminum millwork.
Maybe we should talk to this fella.
Yeah, you probably should. He's doing sprockets and stuff right now. I'm actually running one of his sprockets right now.
On a bike.
It's not on that bike.
Let's. I'd like to.
I'll put you in touch with him.
Even if we went back to making smoothies instead of doing the diamonds, because you can get an at-home like laser engraving kit for pretty decent amount of price.
Have you ever seen electro etching as well?
No.
I'm not entirely sure how the process works, but I know it's like a film that lays over, and it's got an ink. When you put electricity to it, it burns where the path was.
I've never seen that, but it sounds really cool.
So
essentially,
it's kind of like a classic laser engraving.
Okay. Huh. I don't know, man. I've never seen any. I know the anodizing process. I learned more about that than I'd ever known, like how electricity varies with anodizing and different materials take different things. And the guy that was making, you saw my Barends when I did them, like the ones that were colored, that was the deepest anodizing I'd ever seen. Like that guy packed that color into my Barends really well. And I was proud of it. I mean, sometimes they didn't fit everybody's handlebars just because, like, yeah, I think Andrew had a little bit of trouble there, but the design was so simple. It was two pieces. So unless, like, if you look at Berender's Barends, the dude, like, knows the mechanical engineering of how to put two wedges together and cut the excess material out so that they'll actually spread apart really far. And that was like the one thing I thought mine were always missing, was that I made the bar ends to the exact inside diameter spec of the NoWear bars, or like standards tubing for their handlebars. So it fit the NoWear bars like a dream. They went in and a quarter of a turn on the Allen bolt, they fit. But I think at the time you were running like old Odyssey milk bars or something.
No.
Who was that?
No, they wouldn't tighten down because I had my bars cut down, so I was past the thicker diameter.
Yeah, where the double butting in the tube was, the wedges wouldn't get big enough.
Yeah.
And then I also had the problem where S&M's tubing, their tubing is thicker than a lot of other companies, so I couldn't get the bar ends in the hole to even start to begin with. So I was feeling bad. I'm like, man, I got to come up with version 2s of these that have more adjustability. But talking to Mitch, it might be possible to do something else again. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'll put you in touch with him, because I know he's been doing sprockets. He's been doing like little mountain bike stuff. It seems like a pretty good gig for him.
Yeah,
like that he's doing stuff. We're talking about maybe GrindWorks sprockets or something.
Full guard?
I don't know yet. I would like to, but at the same time, if you look at the way this one is, I'd rather do two-piece. Full guard, but two-piece. Bolt on.
Yeah. And
then you can sell the sprocket and you can sell the guard, and if you don't want a guard, then perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And anybody who's willing to do I don't know. I've heard so many comments from people before that like BMX is so flooded, like the industry is. There's so many companies doing the same, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Like everybody's got their own preference. The weirdest thing I've found lately, though, is like the colors. The colors thing is like really catching me off guard with companies lately. Like it seems more about what color package we're making in these parts than it is like the quality. But that was around back. I don't know. I feel like quality is kind of going down. But
if you have a new colorway that drops every month, and your product only lasts 2 to 3 months, but you can convince kids that it's cool to get the new colorway every month.
See, and
no one ever breaks your parts, and you've tripled how many you can sell.
Yeah, from a business standpoint, like your explanation was just overly simplified, if anything. Like it totally makes sense, but to me it's always been like, damn, I remember like when the point of a part, remember like all this stuff, all the legendary technology, I think, for BMX that like Odyssey did back in the day, like with the goofy stems that they made and all that. I miss when it was like about making something new, and that's why I haven't seen any of that stuff. Like it almost looks like some companies like they're just opening a catalog and going, "Oh, put our logo on these pedals."
They are.
Yeah.
Some are.
And it's just like, no, and that's not any jab at any one person or company or anything. That's just me sitting back going, man, I've been doing BMX. Like, I'm not a professional BMX rider, but I've been around BMX since I was like 9 years old, 8 or 9 years old, in parts now. And I'm like, that thing looks like it's going to break. Like,
so, I have a really funny story about what you were just talking about. My buddy James ran his company, and it still kind of exists. He sponsors our jams every year, but he hasn't made product in it, and he's got a different project that he'd like to start doing.
Okay.
But he ran Weston Cycles, and he was buying catalog stuff, having him print his logo on it, and just doing something.
Yeah.
So he was doing exactly that, and he had these pedals for years, these PC pedals. and they were a cool looking design, but they didn't last long. They would just break.
Yeah.
And he had those, like, I don't know. It was long before I moved to Pittsburgh. So this is probably 7 or 8 years ago. And 2 years ago, I was at Interbike. And I think it was actually Rant. Was just premiering on their bike those pedals. And I was like, I had to take a picture of them and send them back. I'm like, look at, man, they're going to have all the same braking problems you had.
Well, and actually, though, like, I kind of like those companies for being, like, for the kids who, like, are struggling to be able to upgrade their parts.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff doesn't bother me because Rant doesn't try to pretend to be a top-of-the-line parts company. They don't.
But it was just funny that they were those
it's the same one
pedals
that he took out of a catalog. And I've even seen, like...
It's funny to be 8 years behind or whatever and be like,
yeah.
Oh, man, you've already come and gone with this product.
I've seen it with pedals, like freestyle pedals that have the holes in them for reflectors. Like if they would have been put on another bike, they would have had a reflector on it. And it's like, wait a second. Mm-hmm. How are you passing this off as a freestyle product?
I actually need to look for this right now because it was so good that they were the...
Yeah,
no joke, the exact same pedal. And... I'm not going to find it unless I can... If I tagged him in it, then it'll pop right up in the tags. I'm pretty sure I do. Yep. Okay. Exact same pedal.
Oh. I knew exactly what pedal you were talking about, too. I knew it was this pedal. But yeah, sure enough, like, just has...
Yeah, you can see it.
The same pedal. And it's just like, that's not a dog on any... Like, it's not a dog on anybody. It's just like... Let's make parts that last, like GrindWorks BMX, how they make pegs that you probably only need one pair of pegs, unless you're grinding everything every day.
All right, I'm just gonna make a comment for people that are just like Cody too. You know they get lighter every time you use it.
See, damn it! I knew you were gonna say that. Like, just get out there and grind a little bit, wait, weedy, and they'll get lighter. Like, I knew he was gonna go there too. I'll talk him, and I'll make myself GrindWorks aluminum pegs and run them like I ride for you guys. I'll talk to Mitch and have him make
them. Then they won't slide.
Gosh,
that's kind of the whole point.
Like, I love going to the wheel mill because the wheel mill's got plastic ledges, and my pegs slide on them. Like,
I hate that stuff.
People hate that Trex board and everything. I'm like, nope.
I love that Trex board, but there's a key component which is keeping it nice.
Oh yeah, going over it with a grind.
You have to wax it.
And
you have to wax it every session. But it not being waxed mixed with kids learning to grind and dragging their chain across it the entire day. Just, that stuff doesn't work good. It's not a good spot for it. Like, we had it at the ice house.
Oh, speaking of that.
We'll come back.
Yeah, I want to know about this place.
So we had it at the ice house, and it was perfect. The whole time we had that place, year and a half, whatever. We waxed it every time we rode, like, stayed super nice. You guys probably weren't
landing on your sprockets or missing your pegs too often on that stuff either, because you guys know how to grind.
A little bit.
See, I mean, I think that's where, if you're going to build a grind ledge and you know how to grind, that stuff can come into play and help you out more. You don't think so? I don't know. I just like it.
It's fun. It's nice to have, like, if you got a neighborhood grind box at your house, you can grind it at 12 o'clock at night and it's not loud.
Didn't even think about that. I guess I don't have neighbors where I live.
But when it comes to, like, doing tricks and being able to lock in and spin out of them and stuff.
Is it too slippery?
A piece of angle iron? No. A piece of angle iron allows you to tip over the corner of it. So like you can actually lock into it and use it to your advantage to pull up or pull over.
See, the last one of those Trex board ledges I made, though, I actually made it so that the board itself, like, stuck up. You know what I'm saying? Like, the top of it had a riser piece.
Yeah, they're usually just wider than your pegs, each board.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I don't know. Shout out to the wheel mill, though. I like that place.
I think it's so much free advertising on this podcast.
Well, we're right here. I mean, how far away is it from here?
20 minutes probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's close. I like. There's what's the skate park with the full pipe?
Pitcher.
Yeah, that place. We went and rode there a couple weeks ago. It was really fun too.
I don't like it.
That bowl was too scary, but I like the little street plaza thing. It was really fun.
I've never liked that park since they built it.
Really?
Yep.
Is it slippery or something?
No, I like slippery.
I was bummed that they had marble ledges there.
That's my favorite part of Changa is how slippery it is.
Oh my gosh, I haven't rode Changan since. Oh. And I asked this question only because maybe you know. Vince? Is he still, like, alive?
Yeah.
Like, shout out Vince Smith. Where you at, dog? Hit me up.
I posted an old photo of him, like, sometime late last year, I think.
Yeah.
Like, super old photo, because I hadn't talked to him in a while either.
Neither have I. He just, like, disappeared.
And then I posted it and, like, got a text 20 minutes later with a stack of new photos. He's like, I just had these shot, like, not long ago. If you want to post some,
is he just like a social media enigma at this point? Like he doesn't care about social media?
He had some health problems.
I knew that
have steered him away. Like he hasn't been able to ride the way he wants to, and I think social media has bummed him out.
Makes sense. Hey Vince, we still love you, dog. Come ride. I don't care if you're not as good as you used to be.
You know, that's really as far as I want to go into that discussion.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't like discussing people's personal lives.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure he was still like talking.
He's around.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in forever. I have to get his number from you before I leave. He rode for me when I had like the Barend guy thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually the first person I put on like I paid my riders or anything. I gave you Barends and goofy ass T-shirts that say "Never leave your hole exposed." Have you seen our T-shirts?
I think so. Yeah.
Like one design, friend talking.
Yeah, but you say that, and then like. Was it last year or the year before that some kid died because they got impaled by their handlebar?
Look at Dennis McCoy. With him, like that happened a couple years ago with him and Matt Hoffman riding the vert ramp together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it terrifies me the thought of not running bar ends. And there's people that like voluntarily don't do it, and I'm like, hey, to each your own. I don't have a stick in the what the hell is that term? Stick in the fire or whatever. When it comes to the argument, like helmets, bar ends, any of that stuff, if you're out at the compound or if you're at my house riding or anything like that, you have to have a helmet on. That's just common sense. It's other people's insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go out street riding and you don't have a helmet on, and you're an adult, I think that comes into play. If you're a kid, like your parents should be like looking out for you a little bit. But I don't care if you don't wear a helmet. I really don't. But I think everybody should. Yeah. And that's whereas. There's people that make it such a big drama thing. They're like, well, if you would have been wearing a helmet, I'm like, I don't feel a need to make those comments because as soon as you hit your head on the concrete, the first thing you wish is that you had a helmet on. I don't know anybody who hit their head and went, damn, I'm really glad I wasn't wearing a helmet.
Well, it's like when you pop your knee off your stem and then put a knee pad on, right?
Yeah, same concept.
Roll your ankle, then throw your ankle brace on.
We're humans. We're humans we're animals in the greatest sense of the word, just like a dog, or a child burns their hand on the stove. They're not going to put their hand there anymore. If you crack your head on the concrete, I hope that you decide to wear a helmet afterwards, but just wear one in the first place. Like I love helmets. I don't ride my bike without them anymore. And the only thing I love more than helmets are bar ends because I'm not trying to die, get impaled.
I like shoes.
Shoes are important too. I like shoes. I guess. I mean, these aren't riding shoes. I wear.
I'll ride my bike. If I lost a bar end one day, I'd probably ride my bike back to my car to get another one.
Yeah.
If I lost a shoe one day, I'd probably walk.
Yeah. Do you run metal pedals or plastic pedals?
I alternate. I prefer metal.
I've been thinking about going back to metal lately.
So, metal pedals crank flip better.
You can actually grab them to flick them. How do you do crank flips? With your back foot or with your front foot?
Both.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Is that why you can do doubles?
Maybe.
I can't do doubles.
The metal ones are heavier, so they spin faster.
Oh, you know what? Bob Mead actually told me that that's a real thing with like handlebars too, with bar spin tricks. That like your handlebar, the weight of your bars. I mean, it should be common sense. Centrifugal force, the heavier something is, the more rotational force it can generate. But I never thought about your pedals helping it come around because the metal, the weight. I need to add weight to my bike, Andy.
I know.
Need to lose some weight. Need to lose some weight here, and then maybe I can add it to my bike.
But no, when you were asking about grip, you probably didn't see it, but I have no pins on my pedals.
On either side?
Yeah, I mean, you can check my left pedal here. That is how I rode that for ages.
No pedal. There's no pins.
And my shoes are completely smooth, like they're worn out.
Huh.
So,
Do you do the same thing with metal pedals? Like
I'll break the pins up.
You break the pins.
Or take them out.
Wow.
But usually they just break out. So, one thing that's always driven me nuts is hearing other people complain about, I can't do that, my pedals aren't grippy right now, or, oh, my foot got wet, or I can't do that, it's too slick, these are my bad shoes. And it's like, if you just hook your foot a little bit and hold on to the pedal and know where your pedal's at, it doesn't matter.
I could never do it. I don't know. I think it's a security thing for me. Like, I agree with you in the sense that, like, your pedals aren't, like, just because your pins are a little bit shorter doesn't mean you should blame your pedals for stuff. But I'm a big old fan of pedal pins. I love having my pedals feel like they're stuck to my feet.
I hate it.
Yeah.
When I can't adjust my foot.
I don't know. I can't I can't land on my crank arms either. Like if I do foot jam whips and stuff, I hate landing like on my crank arms. I like landing on my pedals. But I have a lot of buddies that ride that basically like one of our friends, Jacob Thiem. I don't know if you've ever seen that kid ride. That kid's like a park. He's like a box jumping park riding wizard.
Yeah.
Out of Nebraska. But he can do everything he does. He's on like constantly stands or has his feet like back and forth between his crank arms and his pedals, and I've just never been able to move my feet around like that.
So what you've probably never noticed, because you only see stuff on like Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
Whenever I do crank flips, I slide my foot about halfway off the pedal. So like
to the forward or to the rear?
To the outside.
To the outside.
So I'm only half on the pedal.
Like with this part of your foot here?
Yeah. So like on paper, like if this is the pedal, your foot would normally go like this. Yeah. I'm like this.
And you do that with both feet?
Both feet. So that's what I'm saying. I like people say I do a back foot crank flip, but I counter that it's both feet because I do it like a kick flip on a skateboard, where I put pressure on the back foot, but I slide the front foot off so that it relieves that pressure like this.
Immediate pop.
Yeah.
Starts spinning them. That makes sense. I guess I never thought about moving my feet out. Because I've had problems when trying crank flips.
That's why mine look like no footers.
Because your feet blow off to the, like when you pop that one off, your feet are going like this. Mm-hmm. I've had problems where I try to kick and I end up like kicking my crank arm because I'm not moving my feet around. So it might be I might have to go home and move my feet out and try the.
But yeah, it's like it's being half on that. Like if I can't slide my feet over when I want to do a crank flip, it really messes with me.
And you can set up quick, like do a grind, land, and get your feet like that, and hop and do a crank flip without any, because you have no pins. Yeah. You can basically just move your feet wherever you need them to be. I mean, it's the same concept. Riding pinless pedals is the same like argument Simon Tabron made a long time ago when he took his brakes off his bike on a vert ramp, and he's like, skateboards don't have brakes. And it's like, skateboards don't have pedal pins, and somehow they stay
grip.
They have grip.
So a lot of people ran grip tape for a while. That was like a thing.
On the pedals?
Yeah.
See, like, but aren't
it was like a mid-school thing to have grip tape instead of pins.
I never remember that. I remember that being like a flatland thing, where like the flatland riders would have those things that just look like platypus tails sticking off their pedals covered in duct tape or grip tape. Mm-hmm. But
even the old Reuben pedals came with a
They did come with, it looked like a nasal strip worth of grip tape that went right in the middle. Son of a gun. They just re-released those pedals for like all their anniversary stuff. I remember seeing that. Huh. That's funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. That's been like a weird thing for me that I can put pins in my pedals, but I don't really like it.
I never see. That's the thing. Like, I have nothing negative to say about the fact that you run pins. All I can say is I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know because I've never tried. So you just gotta.
No, because in your mind it bugs you that you don't have them, and then you're
right.
like, I need new pedals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, perfect. You're done with those? Let me get them.
You're like the friend that bums the pair of shoes off your friend. Oh, you're going to buy new shoes? Those ones only have one hole in them. Let me get them.
I had a buddy up in New York that when we used to have this park, East Shore skate park,
Heard of that one.
it was in Lansing, New York, outside of Ithaca.
Okay.
My buddy Tommy loved used ODI grips.
Like ones that dudes have been riding for a
Oh
couple
yeah,
months?
yeah. He wanted them as worn in as they could possibly be, like almost down to the bar. So he would buy new grips and give them to me just so he could have my old ones.
He'd buy new ones so that he could have a pair of old ones.
And I was like, I'll ride brand new grips all the time. I don't really care. Like,
See, like that's actually been one of the.
That was a great deal, Tommy. We should link back up.
Yeah. Do you need any used ones? Those ones look pretty destroyed.
I got some super used ODIs right here.
Yeah, those ones they look like they're concave.
They've been on 2 separate builds on 2 different sets of handlebars.
See, I struggle with the grip thing. I've gone through so many changes with grips because I broken this hand and I've broken this finger twice on this hand. It's like my fingers don't even go straight. So it's like I struggle with grips because some of them are too fat and I don't feel like I have enough strength in this hand to grab them. Other ones are too thin and I get like bruises in my palms from like where it hurts. And right now, it's ironic. I'm riding gloves with a pair of Fly Joe Rowe or Joey Rowe grip. They look like old Amy Tri, like the old hard triangle Amy grips. Mm-hmm. They look just like those, and they have like very little flanges. But the grip is thin enough and hard enough that I get really good grip while I'm wearing gloves. But I don't know. I hate grips. Like other people, like, what do you go through the most? And it's like I go through grips, but not because I wear them out, but because like I haven't been able to find a pair of grips in years.
I'm gonna give you the Derek Nelson reference.
What's that?
He uses hockey tape.
I keep thinking about doing it. I saw that one of the Canadian kids when we were just at Woodward had it.
Sometimes he'll do it straight to the bar. Usually he'll do like a layer of it, and then he'll twist some and put like a spiral wrap so there's a little bit of texture in there.
Yeah.
And then go back over it.
I always
you've got texture. But he'll also do it over thin grips sometimes. So you've got like...
See, I feel like that would make them too big for me, but...
Well, thin.
Like, these grips I'm running right now are really thin. I've always wanted to do the hockey tape. Oh, Odyssey came out with... they were Gary Young's grips a couple years ago that had... The center of the grip had a little bit more rubber in the center. So on this part of your hand and this part of your hand, you got to close in tighter. And I've wanted to do the hockey tape and then right in the center just like do 3 or 4 extra layers so that it was in my palm. But I don't know.
Do it. Worst case, you hate it and you pull it back off.
Yeah, you cut it off with a razor blade.
But it doesn't get really as sweaty as you would think. Like most grips hold water in the grooves and stuff.
Yeah.
It really pretty good. I've never ran it long term, but I've ridden his bike with it before, and I'm like, this is not.
One
that
of the
bad.
Canadian kids when we were at Woodward, I think from like Joyride up in Canada, he had the whole left side of his handlebar was hockey tape, and I was just like, what do you do that for? He's like, because I can grab anywhere on the bar that I need to, and it never gets slippery. But I just haven't had the cojones to go to Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever and buy some hockey tape. I'll have to do that in honor of Derek. Send him a picture of it.
You should do it. Be like, yes.
So you're from New York originally. How did you end up in Pittsburgh because of your woman or because of your job? Or
no, for work. So this is like a long, convoluted story in a way. I took an internship while I was in college that I didn't want because they were paying me less than than I was making at Big Lots when I worked there. And, within the first couple months, that all got rectified. But I was like, this is garbage.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe how low you're going to pay me.
And then that's what inevitably brought you down here?
So I worked there as an intern for like 5 years, maybe longer, before I took a full-time job there. But during my internship, I did testing and work for one of our companies that distributed our product, which is the company I work for now. So I knew all these people.
Got it.
Like, I knew the owner, just in interaction.
Because you were doing work for them through this company, but working for this people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did about 5 years on the same product line there. Huh. And then when I got hired full time, they're a big corporation, and sometimes corporations don't make any sense.
Yeah.
So they couldn't hire me full time into the position I was in because I already filled that role. Which, like, from a small company, you're like, all right, so we'll just put you on payroll, right? No, they didn't have a need. So what they told me was I would have to quit and reapply with the general job pool when that position gets posted. What? Or they could hire me into this alternate role that they had an opening for right now. And I'm like, yeah, that seems like the better option.
Yeah, than risking turning off the power and trying to turn it back on? No way.
Yeah.
That's terrible. So
I got hired into a hardware line instead of the product line that I had worked on for 5 years. And then within a year, they actually sold that division of the company, and all the employees went with it. So I got sold off.
And to Pittsburgh.
Nope.
No?
Nope. Still in Binghamton.
Oh, jeez.
Worked there another year or so. And, liked what I was doing and everything, liked the people I worked for.
Yeah.
But I got a phone call that was from these guys saying, we heard you don't work at that company anymore. How do you feel about moving to Pittsburgh?
Got it.
I'm working for us. I'm like, I could entertain this idea.
So how far away where you're here from your old home?
5.5 hour drive.
One way?
300 miles. Yeah.
One way?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that
it's really far.
Was way up there.
So, there's no direct line.
Oh, it's one of those towns you got to take 3 highways.
From here to there, it's like
Oh, jeez.
So whatever. But on the flip side of that, I had been making trips down here to ride with Derek because his brother lived here.
Oh, so you were already getting familiar with the area.
So I knew some of the area. I'd been down here a couple of times, enough times that the year before before I got offered a position at all down here, I had been down here enough times that I had brought Rachel down on a vacation, just like, I love this area. Pittsburgh. I think it's awesome. You need to come see it too. Yeah. And we'll spend a week down there and we'll go do the zoo and stuff. So we actually came down here and stayed in a hotel that's right around the corner from where we live right now.
What a funny story, though.
And
so you still work for that company that essentially snagged you from the other company?
Yes.
That's cool, though. And you're a mechanical engineer.
Yeah. So it worked out really awesome, but had I not known the area and everything, I don't know that I would have been that stoked on it. Now, I had a whole bunch of friends from Binghamton that had moved down here the years prior. So not only was Derek's brother down here, but a bunch of our other friends from high school and from HCS
so it made
were living here.
It made it a lot easier of a transition.
They all were moving back when I moved down here. I don't think any of them live here anymore. Not even his brother.
Why do you think that is? Cost of living here is way more?
Oh, no. Sorry. The one guy just moved back here. Tom just moved back.
Okay.
So he had moved up there right when I moved down here, and he stayed up there for about 4.5 years and moved back down here.
Shoot.
But no, this area is pretty cheap for the most part. So is up there. There is no industry up there.
Like
it's a
we
area.
call Youngstown like a place with no career level jobs. Like you can always find a job, but you're probably going to be making less than $15 an hour working in an office or in retail setting. It's not. There's not a whole lot of mechanical engineering jobs in Youngstown, whereas if you go to Cleveland or Dayton or Columbus, they have them there. So I don't know. Like I was living in Omaha, and Omaha's huge. I mean that's Warren Buffett's from there, and when I was in the military, that's where I was stationed. And then moving back here, it's like my wife was like, I've never seen places like this that are so green. Like I drove her. She came to the wheel mill with me once. I think that's where we were going. But she was just fascinated by how green Pennsylvania and Ohio are, like, because she's from New Mexico. So, like, her whole life's been brown cactuses and beige. And then Nebraska, everything's a different shade of beige, pretty much, because it's a cornfield or a wheat field or something flat. And then she comes here, and I took her, we went to go see a show at the Benham Center downtown in Pittsburgh. And she was like a tourist walking around downtown Pittsburgh. She's like, I've never seen buildings like this. She goes, there's people on the corner like actually dancing and playing music. I'm like, that's what happens in big cities. Like, she's never seen it before, and it's fascinating to bring my wife back.
Pittsburgh's a really cool city, though.
I want to come over here. Like, I so badly want to get over here and like link up with people to ride all day in Pittsburgh. There's a bunch of dudes from Youngstown that come over here a lot. Do you know, like the Anthony Pallanti and Tyler Keish and those guys?
Yeah.
Like, those dudes are some of the only guys I really have to ride with over in Youngstown. And unfortunately, shout out to those guys, but I don't get to ride with them as much as I'd like to either.
Yeah, well, your schedule seems like it's kind of...
Dude, I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Sometimes on Saturdays if one of the other guys has to take a day off. And I work 2 to 10 almost every day.
Saturday is a pretty solid day.
To have off, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I can get stuff done on Saturday, like, especially if I'm willing to... like drive somewhere Friday night at 10 o'clock when I get off of work.
Yeah. And
like drive up and then stay. I've done that where I go up to Cleveland the night before and then I get up the next morning and I do the race thing all day. I see that being possible over here too. Like totally jump in the car Friday night, drive over here, knock on your apartment and say, hey, I'm just going to sleep on the living room floor and we'll get up the next morning and ride.
I got an air mattress in that closet right behind you. It fits this room perfectly with the way it's set up.
I got to make it happen, man. I got to get back on. I got to get on my bike as much as the year as possible just because, like, with the move and with everything else, like, coming back here, the bike is still the one thing that always, like, keeps the head just right, you know? And now that my kids are riding, it's a whole other ball. You should see this bike I built for my son, dude. Like, I feel bad for my son because kids are going to look at him and go, oh, your mom and dad bought you a nice bike. But I kind of went, like, crazy.
Yeah, but you're gonna, my dad rides.
Well, then my thought, too, everything
it's not like your parents just bought you the nicest bike. They bought you a bike that they knew was good.
Well, and not only that, but for me, any money I put into my one kid, I just give the bike to my next kid when he gets older. So it's like when my 4-year-old's 7 and he's ready to get on a 16-inch bike, he's going to have an FBM with profile minis and like tie cranks and stuff on it. Like, it's going to be cool. Like, and to me, I would rather put money into my kids early and put them on a bike that's lighter and put them on a bike that they can ride and learn on. Not because I ever want them to be professional BMX riders, but because I want them to love the same kind of things I do. The day that they decide to pick a soccer ball up over a freaking BMX bike is the day that I guess I'm going to a soccer field to watch soccer games. Like, as hard as that is to say as a BMX rider that's been riding for a long time, I'm totally prepared to make the bike sacrifice for my kids. But as of right now, my kids are blowing my mind, dude. Like, my son's jumping. I think I got the cinder block plywood ramp up to like 20 inches tall the other day, and he's shooting it out to the yard.
Nice.
He's doing tire feeble grinds. Like, I have a curb in my driveway, does tire feebles 10 foot on a 16-inch bike, and like, I'm just, that gives me more excitement nowadays than anything. Like,
Yeah.
I love watching my kids ride. I'm sure every time your son gets on that little bike in the living room, you're like, think it's the... I saw he was doing a seat stander on it the other day. I saw.
Yeah.
Climbs up and stands on the seat of the Strider bike. It's like, that kind of stuff is almost as exciting as like anything I've ever landed before.
He's got the Strider, and it's a little bit big for him still. Like, he can do it, but it's uncomfortable. But I bought this other little one, and it's like a tricycle with
I saw it sitting right next to it.
Two front wheels.
Yeah.
But it fits him better, so he really likes that, and it balances a little bit for him. It still tips over really easily, so it's not like it stands up on its own.
Yeah. As soon as my son outgrows his Strider, I'll let you borrow that one, because it's one of the DK ones that has like the really low slung seat. It's like, my son's too big for it almost now, and he's only 4.
Yeah, I think he's within a month or two, he's going to be on that regular Strider.
Yeah, and it's weird, dude, watching the light turn on in their head. Like, because I thought for the longest time, I'm like...
He'll bunny hop, the little one. If you're like, jump, he like goes along and he like jumps.
Picks it up.
And
that's awesome,
like,
dude.
Yes.
That's awesome. Seriously, like, as soon as you get to see the light click on in the kid's head, when they figure out, like, oh my god, if I just run as fast as I can and pick my feet up, I can cruise. That moment is just, like, you can't even put it into words as a parent. It's weird. It's really weird. Things I never thought I'd say. You know, I thought by now I'd be talking about, you know, how many beers I drank last night and what thing we did on a trip. I never thought I'd have kids. I never thought I'd have a wife, but like, I'm so thankful that I have both of them. And
you wanted to be the remember the days when guy?
Yeah, like the dude that never left his hometown, like guy that moves back home after the military and just drinks at the bar every night. Like, I thought for sure that was my life, but I'm so glad that didn't happen that way.
Yeah, that's awesome that that's not the way things went.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get to ride hardly at all, but
I mean, you still got time.
Yeah,
you got time to be that guy.
I could still backpedal, for a lack of better wording.
Just get like 10 solid more years of being a cool dude, and then like go back, just revert to the remember the time when we used to do this.
There are 2 types of people that drive you nuts like that. Are the remember when guy and the you know what you should do guy. That guy that's like, oh, you know what you should do. You shouldn't do what you wanted to do. You should do what I say. Like, those people blow my mind. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it the way that I wanted to do it in the first place. I don't know. Well, what you thinking?
I don't know. I mean, I don't ever put a cap on these things. I only glance over my shoulder to make sure it's still recording.
How far have we gotten so far? I'm interested to know.
Hour 36.
Really? Well, I gotta do shorter podcasts than Brant. No matter what, it has to be shorter than Brant, because Brant makes everything so long.
I make a lot of these long. There's been a couple at like the 3-hour mark.
Side note, that was not me making fun of you, Brant. That was me just joking about how long your videos are sometimes. That's
I wouldn't know. I've never watched one of Brant's videos.
See, that's worse than whatever I just said, Brant. Andy's never even spent time to watch your videos.
I told him face to face that. I think it was in his podcast.
No, I just like giving him crap because I think when this one always stands out to me as funny, and I'm saying this as to be funny. When he built his NoWear bike up, he made like the bike check build video. It was like an hour and 45 minutes long. Like it was 2 parts on his YouTube page, and I was like, Brant, shorten it up, bud.
I mean, whatever. You do you, Brant.
I
think you know what your audience likes. Let's put it that way.
Definitely. I think that the whole vlogging thing nowadays, and even doing these podcasts, has got to be difficult for anybody that's trying. Like, anybody. I have respect for any of the guys that are out there doing it. Like, even if they're, I don't know. There's a couple of guys I do watch and a couple of guys I don't watch. I really want to get into, I want to start listening to Dennis Anderson's podcast. I haven't got to do his. I've gotten through almost all of the vital ones. Mm-hmm. Starting to go back through yours. Yours are a little bit more difficult for me to wrap my head around because some of the guys I don't know.
Yeah, this one's very regional.
Yeah.
And when it's not, it's like still people no one knows. Or
like me, I'm on your podcast right now. Nobody knows who I am. Like, I thank you to anybody who has stuck around this long to listen to me talk.
I think that's kind of cool though, because one thing that I try not to do is make it a bunch of regional inside jokes.
Yeah.
And that's what you can notice that a lot when you start listening to certain things. It's like everyone knows the backstory, so you can just like say one thing, everyone chuckles over it, and then you move on, and you're like, as a listener, I don't know what you're talking about.
I guess I never really thought about that. That does happen a lot in different scenes and like different inside jokes and comments that people would make, or jokes like "ha, yeah, John," or something like that, talking about somebody else that the audience had no idea who you were referencing. So I could see that being. The other thing that drives me nuts is like the sarcastic humor, like where people are like being overly sarcastic about something to try to be funny. I never understood that concept either. I don't even have a good example of what I'm talking about, but it's.
I know what you mean, and I can see that I do that sometimes. Like I take a very sarcastic approach.
I haven't felt that way at all. I appreciate.
Well, I haven't in any of.
Oh, you haven't been
like
sarcastic
this one or anything.
But
yeah, I'm trying to think, and then like another couple you should listen to. Imprimatur is really good. It's Mike Hinken's podcast.
Oh, Mike Hinken's the guy from Minnesota, right? He rides with Grant Castelluso a lot.
Yeah, no, he's from Wisconsin though.
Wisconsin, yeah. One of the he I think I met him at a.
But he works for Madeira.
Yeah. Well, I've met him at Four Seasons before.
So he has a really awesome podcast. It's meant to be a little bit more intellectual.
Okay.
So it's like really intricacies of BMX, and he runs a website that talks a lot about it. I'm pat myself on the shoulder, I guess, here for a second. I just had an article published on there as well.
Oh, no kidding.
But
I want to get into all of them. Honestly, none of them bug me. None of them drive me nuts. They each have their unique thing that I think that's what's nice is that a lot of the guys that are committing to these podcasts aren't becoming cookie cutter. It's not each like the Garrett Burns interview. Did you listen to that one? Oh,
which with who BMX in Our Blood one?
Yes.
I am so far behind on Joe's work. I think I'm on episode 23 right now, and I've been trying to catch up on those.
It's fun. It's almost like I remember as a kid, like you'd come home from school and you'd want to catch your favorite episode of a show on TV because we didn't have direct TV and save your show stuff back in the day. And like podcasts are starting to become that way for me to where I'm excited to get home for that 30 minutes and where I sit in the garage and listen to one and then I pause it and I go back to whatever I'm doing.
So right now, BMX in Our Blood, Joe has been doing a whole bunch of Pittsburgh ones.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, he just did the Wheel Mill one, and I think he did one with
Mason, and I thought there was another one recently, but yeah, Murphy and Zoo.
I think he might have done the Potosny, what's it, the one Potosny brother.
So, I'm so far behind, and I like to listen to all these in order.
Do his seem to go in like a sequential order? Or
not always.
Oh.
But
I think that would be a hard thing.
It's really hard to not reference back to like when I did this one and talk to so and so.
Yeah.
So like even if it's little intricacies like that, I like to be aware of what the discussion is. So, and I feel like every interview and like just interaction that I have on my show.
Yeah.
I feel like it shapes the way you look at your next ones and maybe the way you ask questions and just interact, and you can tell improvements. So like I feel like to maybe go listen to some recent ones and go back, you might almost be annoyed.
Of yours?
No. Oh. So he's on like what, episode 70 or something?
Oh, it's up there, whatever it is.
So if you skip 50 episodes,
I see what you're saying.
You're gonna notice a difference versus like episode to episode. You're making gradual transitions.
He's fine tuning the craft as it gets along, so the quality of 1 versus 71 is going to be massively different, whether or not it's the same person or not.
And you might not even like 70 or 70 whatever if you jump straight to it after listening to the first 20,
because it could be totally different.
Yeah. Whereas if you just make your way there, it's going to be what it is.
He's had so many good ones. I think I think he's supposed to be doing Carl. I think. And don't quote me on that, and I'm sorry if that was like something I shouldn't have said.
Whatever.
But I think he might be going out to Nebraska or something soon to do a podcast with Carl. So that would be on the lookout for that.
Hopefully,
God, I hope I didn't just
during
say
the corn hockey, I know he likes to do them on location during events.
There's another dude that like has started coming around all the NoWear stuff. His name's Stoney. He's the guy that runs Old Fat Guy BMX.
I'm unfamiliar.
He's a dude. I think he's from Illinois.
But it sounds right up my alley.
Dude, seriously, you know the guy from Ohio, Dustin Reese, the real old dude with the dreads.
I don't know who he is,
but you've heard
I know
of
the
him.
name.
He does stuff with Stoney, but Stoney's like a dude that just loved BMX, or at one point in time, or maybe he found it later in life. But he's just, quote unquote, an old fat guy who likes BMX, and he started a YouTube channel, and he films interviews with all sorts of people for Old Fat Guy. Like, he's done one with Carl, he did one with Dustin Reese. That's, you know who Steve Kolb is?
Yeah.
Crazy Kolb. He's from Illinois. Now he's been doing a lot of flatland stuff. Like, shout out to him. Like, that kid is a shredder. And he's been on the Old Fat Guy stuff too. Yeah, any of those guys that are doing media related stuff for BMX, especially on a level like down here from like I think BMX is really focused right now on the topics keep coming up about like the Olympics and stuff like that.
Especially on the it's not Vital, it's Kyle Carlson's podcast, The Rollback.
Yeah.
He's made it in a couple of episodes very clear that it's not associated with Vital.
Yeah.
It's a separate thing.
It's that thing, that topic.
But
albeit very, very important, I think, to BMX, because that's another one of them concepts. Like, how could you hate that we are in the, like, it might not be the thing that BMX has always been or whatever, but any kind of forward progress is always going to be good progress. And that's my opinion on the Olympic. But I like the guys that are out there doing everything else but worrying about that.
Mm-hmm.
Still going into a small town to meet a new rider like Joe does, like, or giving spotlight to a guy like Mason. Like, that dude does stuff on bikes that other people can't do. Like, straight up can't do. Not even.
Yeah.
And I've seen him do stuff before. It looked like he should be riding in like the Nitro Circus shows.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get a whole lot of attention. So
I think that's about to change because he was. I don't remember what the contest even was. He just kind of blew up at that one contest he was just at. The dirt contest.
Oh, yeah, the triples event. Yeah, because he got... I saw in the video, like, Jamie Bestwick was, like, loved the dude. Like, he was like, this guy's one of my new favorite dudes.
And I think he's going to be competing in a couple other things.
We have a guy that rides for NoWear now. I don't know. Have you seen... did you watch the Chucky Covey? The double front flip kid? Everybody knows him as Double Front Flip Kid because, like, his Rebel run at Feast where he did the double front flip. But he rides for NoWear now. And we just dropped an edit for him.
I heard they have ugly frames.
Dude, they do. And, like, their girl frames, like, you got to get a skirt to be able to wear one of our bikes the right way.
Yeah, you can just, like, step right through it.
Yeah, like, it's so... Dude, I heard the best one the other day. The best one I've had on the frame so far, and it might not seem that funny to everybody else, but I was at the wheel mill, and there's this kid that walks in. Still don't know his name, whatever. If you remember saying this, then, and you're listening, then haha. But he goes, why you got a bank to wall ride on your top tube? And he said it all like in this weird, like, Kentucky accent or something, but he called it a bank to wall ride. And I was just like, that's the first time I've ever heard that one. That one caught me off guard. But
I actually feel bad even making the joke because
you shouldn't know. You shouldn't.
I don't know Carl enough.
Oh, trust me. If I say you should make the joke, you should totally make the joke.
But I've always laughed at, like, I don't inherently dislike the look of the bars or the frame. The combo has never looked appealing to me.
Dude, it's so hard for me nowadays to look at your bike hanging up on the rack because I remember, for 17, 18 years I rode a bike that looked just like that. And now looking at them, it's almost weird to me. But then I see guys like Steve Kolb in Illinois rides our frame but not our handlebars. And that to me looks weirder than seeing the dip and the dip. Having one and not the other has always looked weird. Like a pair of NoWear candy bars on a normal bike looks a little bit weird. It not weird in the sense that unappealing, but it looks odd to me now, not seeing the two together. But there's I'm just gonna start talking about this, but we're about to drop another frame too. There's a guy out in Colorado that rides for us. His name's Dan Nielsen. He had he was riding for Demolition for a while, and like he had a pretty crazy edit drop for his Demolition part a year or two ago. But basically, that Mike Danilo frame that we have for NoWear, we're making like a blown up version of it. So it's not going to have an ultra short top tube, and it's going to have a little bit longer back end and a little bit taller standover height, but all the angles are still going to be the same. So you're still going to have that ultra steep head tube like the Mike D frame has, but it's going to be made for like a 21-inch top tube. For the guys who wanted a little bit bigger of a bike to still run that goofy top tube, now we're coming out with both avenues for it. So just be on the lookout for that. I'm going to be in trouble if I don't remember this. Pedal-driven cycles.
Yeah.
They're making our frames now.
Awesome.
So the guy down there,
Dave.
Dave, yeah, he knows Vince, and I think Vince rode for him long back in the day.
Vince used to ride for FBM to some capacity.
Yeah.
When Dave was the welder for FBM.
Yeah.
And Dave used to have spooky cycles before that, or...
See, I don't know all the back history of it, but I just know that we were lucky enough now that we're working with Dave at Pedal Driven.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dave's an awesome guy.
Yeah, I can't give you any dates on anything. I can't put anything in stone, but I can say
that he just had like a mini stroke or something.
Yeah, it just
TIA.
happened.
TIA.
Yeah, it's from like a little brain incident.
Yeah.
Something going on, but shout out to him for the sense that he had that little health scare and everything else, but he hasn't really put us on any kind of delay.
Yeah.
The dude hasn't made excuses. The dude is on top of his game, and he's putting out really good product.
I am waiting for a frame from him as well.
Oh, really? Like a custom one?
No.
Kind of.
Yeah, you can if you want. I can pause.
Yeah, can you pause?
Let me throw this on hold here.
Hello?
Alright, we're back.
Alright. Hey, sorry about that.
Back. Let me make sure that sometimes the mic doesn't... Alright, we're good.
Alright, sweet.
I like to make sure the mic is working. That would be kind of a problem.
For the whole end of the interview to just... not be recorded.
Yeah, I just have to record something that's like, sorry, this died.
But what were we talking about?
That I'm waiting on a frame.
Yeah, you're waiting on a frame from Dave.
So let's see, I've got it right here. When Go Fast Pull Up was released and put out, whatever.
That's Jimmy Levan's movie.
Yeah.
Stuff, right? Yeah.
They did the limited edition Kiz frame.
The metal?
Yeah. Dave's making those.
Oh,
and I ordered one of the ones with the frame.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know he was doing stuff with them, too.
So, I guess they had a couple... I don't remember what the number was. It was a limited number. They had the dropouts still from the original frame. So they were only making enough frames to use the existing dropouts.
And you got in there in time to get one.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, I'm really interested to see, I've seen his frame stuff before, and, everything we've dealt with him is fantastic. So I'm really excited to see, more of our frames get... originally, I think it was 161 frames we made.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're all out. All of the frames are being, ridden, I think, now at this point. And it's just going to be really exciting to get more frames back out in, a version 2. Instead of offering...
Who used to make them?
Standard, actually.
Okay.
Standard used to make them, and then to put that as simply and professionally as possible, the businesses were going in two different directions, and it wasn't profitable for him to make our stuff anymore. That was literally the only reason why they no longer make it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough gig to be...
Frame and bar construction is...
To make... I mean... Essentially, it doesn't seem like it's low volume when you're placing the order because you're talking thousands of dollars to invest in making these frames to sell them. But that's a low volume. You know,
you're talking 40, 50 frames at a time.
Up and batch it and stuff and get all the tubing ordered and wire it all your way. Like,
it was never a question that it was an overwhelming, like, more work to do. It was never a question. And then when that topic came up, that it was kind of going to be like, hey, we either have to do more from this end to this end or whatever else, we kind of were all like, well, we can't do that, you can't do that, let's just move on. And then for a while there, we sat wondering what we were going to do next, and we found another frame builder, had that whole setup, no names being said there, but had another frame builder set up, and then that individual he got an opportunity to go take a full-time job somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it was like, as soon as our hopes were ramped up, it was like, hey guys, sorry, I got like a big kid job, I got to go do this, and he went and had a big kid job. Yeah. And now we finally are lucky enough to have found Dave. But yeah, throughout this whole process, poor dude's had like a mini stroke or something.
Maybe you guys stressed him out with your weird angles. And
stuff. That's what it is. We gave Dave a stroke with our bank to wall ride on our top tube. But I love making the jokes. It makes me smile because, dude, I'll tell you what. The first one of those frames we ever made, it was made from a stock Miraco BMX frame. And an old like 1999 standard frame that like had cracked. And it was like he had just this part of it. We hacksawed it or sawzalled the thing apart, put the frame together how we wanted it, and packing taped it all together, and then spray painted the packing tape black so that we could look at something. So like the head tube angle wasn't right on it, everything wasn't right. So we packing taped the whole thing together, and then the next day our buddy comes out with a welder. And he junkily tack welds and everything, all these tubes that we Frankenstein together, to where Carl could like stand on the brace part in the driveway and like spin on the frame so he could see what angle it needed to be at. I remember we built this thing out of plastic and old bike frames, and then just sat down with Mike Danilo and Bob Mead and refined all the geometry and all the angles and everything for the main riding part of the bike. And then we were kind of like, okay, we like all those specs, now we're going to do this to the top tube. And everybody was like, that's either going to work or it's not. And you know, some people love it, some people think it's ridiculous, but at the end of the day, it's like my favorite thing in the world to have been a part of. Like, I didn't have anything to do with the design on the handlebars, but like we have 2-piece and 4-piece bars now. The 4-piece bars came out years after the second piece with 2-piece, so I don't know. BMX and parts and everything are just an interesting. Just doing bar ends, just like you just do pegs, pretty much. That one thing is confusing enough as it is, as opposed to trying to do a full-fledged bike company with stems, bars, forks, frames. Like, we have all that stuff.
Yeah. See, I would like to do, like I said earlier, working with Mitch, I'm probably going to do some sort of sprocket.
Dude, sprocket's the logical thing for you to do.
I would like to do bar ends too, but I've always kind of like teetered on it because you were doing bar ends, and I'm like...
dude, the way I look at it is...
But I didn't think it was a big deal when you were out in Nebraska, for sure. It's like, we're not even talking about the same people.
Yeah.
But, no, it was still one of those things like,
Well, I'd love to link up with him and chat, because, I mean, worst comes to worst, we figure out a way to do...
both, and then etch them differently?
Well, not only that, but roll it into it just being like, remember what you said about people putting into GrindWorks in the beginning and being a part of it? Who knows, maybe the bar end guy and GrindWorks can just merge together and we can offer bar ends. Like, there's potential for everything,
so,
man. Like,
that is a possibility for sure.
I don't like to put limitations on anything.
The other thing I've been trying to do a little bit more, and talking about it on and off on here, but I've got a couple set up so far. We're all running separate web pages, like separate websites, to sell our 1 or 2 niche items. So, like, if you've got an online store for your bar ends, and I've got an online store for my shirts and pegs, and then my buddy's got an online store just for his stickers, and then another guy's got an online store for his shirts, you're like, hold up, guys. Throw it all on my site. I'll take like $1 from every sale or whatever just to help with my time and processing
and essentially it's drop shipped from them.
And then
to the people.
Every time someone looks at my pegs, they go, "Oh, that's a sick shirt," and "Oh, I can get Barends here too," or "Oh, that's a cool sticker." Almost or they came for the sticker and they're like, "Oh, holy crap, that's a cool shirt." So like,
has that ever existed?
It into like a distribution, basically.
Has that ever existed outside? I mean, down to the finest details, it's just like any other distribution.
But it's like, for small
but
dudes
it's niche-y,
like
niche-y things, and you could set them all up through there. That, like, yeah, you call me or I get an email saying, "Hey, you had 2 pairs of Barends purchased from this website." Then now it's on me over here to ship those things.
I've been handling the inventory too.
You keep it all. You would keep it all in. Oh, see, that's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, because then you don't have to do anything.
God, I never even thought about
because
stuff like that.
Otherwise you end up with ridiculous shipping costs. If we had to drop ship stuff from 4 different places.
Yeah, it's true. Especially depending on where it was going.
But yeah, I mean, like I'm only carrying enough inventory on any one thing to like make sense.
Yeah.
And then be like, hey, I need more, or I need to take it off the site. In theory, it works really good, but I haven't had enough people doing it at the moment to like really cross promote stuff well.
Well, I definitely I think that's a very interesting project going forward in the future, to where it could actually be helpful to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you were able to get like another situation, like the ice house building that you got, to where you could actually keep stuff.
Yeah. Well, even a house.
Oh yeah, I guess your apartment's so nice that I forget that we're like not in a house. Like, it's just a really well put together apartment.
But I mean, the way I kind of talked about it originally was, we're essentially competing for sales. When it comes right down to it, if you got to go to one website versus another to buy something, like, the hassle alone is not worth it.
Well, I had a problem with that when I was here building my son's bike recently. It's like, I wanted to just go into one thing and go, I want this part, this part, this part, and this part for the bike. But instead I had to buy like 2 things from this guy and then order the rest of them from this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not, like, have you been on Dan's Comp's website lately?
No.
Like, I got on it
I
every
use
single...
it because they had their issues a year or so ago.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, they've not really recovered.
Yeah, and that's what the website, every single product you look at on the website says ships in 9 days or something. Like, it'll be here this, like they're running it drop shippy somehow. I don't know what they're doing.
They are, because they can't afford to buy inventory.
Yeah, right now. That's just...
And they probably don't have the lines of credit, so they have to give a credit card for every time they probably buy something. That's all speculation. I don't actually know
this
that.
Whole thing has been
for sure. All of this is allegedly.
Yeah.
But
disclaimer for every word that's come out of our mouths.
The reality is, most of the stuff I've bought, even, I mean, it's been like 10 years, really. I've ordered Dan's Comp for videos, and that's really about it.
I haven't used that website.
I use Albies and I use Empire almost exclusively.
Yeah, I use Albies pretty much exclusively, and that's not even to say though that I could do that same thing on Albies website, because had I gone through the website to do everything that I wanted to do, it wouldn't have been physically possible. That's not a dog on Albies at all, because I would much rather... I can order anything from Albies. Like, I just ordered my son's bike.
It's always 3 cents cheaper.
Yeah, it's 3 cents cheaper, and it got here in exactly 2 days.
Yeah.
Because it's coming from just right up the road, essentially.
Yeah.
And I like it. Support... I'm all about, supporting shops and everything. You got to support shops. We don't have one around here.
I mean, you got the wheel mill, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But, I mean, sometimes it's not convenient.
Yeah.
I've got a shop on the corner.
I saw that down there. Yeah, with the running store.
I don't order anything from that. They're too expensive. And
I worked at a shop for years.
How much should a tube cost?
Oh god, I think now bike shops have gotten tubes up to $8.99.
Mm-hmm.
Like $8.99 for coming from the guy who just spent $40 on like plastic condoms to put inside my wheels.
They cost $2.
That's even on the high end, dude. I remember when I worked at the shop, we were talking about cents to dollars.
Yeah.
Cost to sale price.
And I mean, I can go buy a 4-pack from Walmart for what, $12, $10, something like that, of bell tubes.
Yeah.
And realistically, they're better than the tubes I'm getting at the bike shop.
Yeah,
it's
weird.
Like, as much as I don't want to buy my stuff from Walmart, I am not paying $8 a tube.
Hell no.
Unless they're the Thorn-proof, heavy duty, super heavy
God,
ones.
his bike has got to weigh so much. Thorn-proof tubes, steel pegs.
I don't have Thorn-proof tubes in. I have some in my car, though.
If you ever go ride Arizona, you need Thorn-proof tubes. Everything out in Arizona.
No, I don't. I have Primo walls.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, nothing gets through those. You might as well just call them, like, Trojan horse. I don't know.
I love seeing broken glass on the side of the road, and everyone's like, "Oh, glass!" I'm like, "I'll ride through it. I'm not scared."
Oh. Oh, jeez. Well, I gotta take a leak, my friend.
All right.
Is there any way we can...
Yeah, we'll pause again.
Yeah.
I can't wait to put this sweet music in twice.
It puts like a pause scene in between each time.
Yeah, I just go crop it to about 2 to 3 seconds and put some funny elevator music, and then it's right back.
That's too good. Oh, that's like the longest I've held a pee in a long time.
Yeah, I don't usually take a break myself during these, but it's quite relieving.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was that hot in this room until we walked out in the hallway.
Dude, it's like 15 or 20 degrees cooler out of this room. This room is ridiculous right now.
Easily 15 degrees cooler.
Alright, now that we're nice and refreshed and
got some water
and ready, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but that's cool. So I have a couple questions for you, quick. Obviously we kind of talked about the what of the Barend guy.
Yeah.
But what is the why? What made you want to start doing something on your own versus, I guess, like, it would have been just as easy to be like, "Hey, Carl, you should make a Barend."
I think it came down to me and Carl sitting across from each other one night just joking around because he, at the time, was only making handlebars. And I was like, "Oh, dude, it would be super cool if I could, like, make it, like, grips." That's how it started. And then I looked into grips, and, like, you want to talk about how much aluminum machining costs for small parts? Like,
I've looked into grips before.
It's insane to how much it costs to make a mold. So we were like, well, I wonder if I could do, like, bar ends, like Matt Barringer. Like, honestly, that was the inspiration. And then I was at a jam one day and met Phil Wasson. And Phil used to make, like, the parts for Tree back in the day and stuff like that. I met him and pitched it to him. And he's like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Let's try it. Let's do it." So he, like, made a prototype for me, sent me. I critiqued them, gave them changes, and then they came out like that. And honestly, at the end, I was really happy with them. But, like, the one thing I can honestly trace back, other than trying to do something with Carl at the time, was a long time ago. I got lucky enough to meet the late Kevin Robinson at a sporting event in Columbus, Ohio. And back then, like, my family didn't have, like, any money or anything. And Kevin sent me to Woodward for a week. Like, it, like, hooked me up. Just the simplest sense in the word. Like, I got a straight up hookup the first year I ever went. And he sent me to Woodward just because I was, like, some kid that was stoked on BMX. And, like, I've learned a lot of things positivity-wise from that moment that have led me into, like, how I treat, like, kids and how I treat the sport of BMX as a whole now, because, like, one person doing something random for me made it to where, like, if I have a used part, I'd rather, like, help a kid out. I'd rather spend 20 minutes at the skate park helping this kid who said, "How do you do a tire tap?" Like, that, to me, I'm like, I don't need to be riding hard right now. Like, this kid needs my help. Like, that was one thing I was always thankful for growing up, like, in Columbus, was I had dudes that never treated me like shit because I was younger. They never treated me weird because I was weird. Because, don't get me wrong, I was always a weird kid. Collected autographs, I asked a lot of questions. And lucky for me, I had guys growing up that were like, "Hey, man, ask less questions. Or like they were just trying to like help me be not that annoying kid, you know? And I like to take those opportunities to be like, dude, just chill. Just ride your bike. Don't worry about it. Help kids out and do that stuff in a positive way. And that can, not only what I've learned from Carl and stuff, but like Kevin doing that for me a long time ago was like the one thing that set a lot of precedence for how I wanted to be. But Carl like really inspired me to actually be that way. Because I wasn't always a helpful person. I would show up and wear headphones when I rode. No dogging on people that wear headphones, but like...
No, we did that in the Doyle podcast.
What? I didn't get to finish it yet.
That comes up.
About wearing headphones?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta finish it. But like, I personally, nowadays, I look at it like almost... Especially if you're with your...
Let's have the conversation.
Like again, if you're with your homies and you're riding with people, take your freaking headphones out. I'm sorry. Don't wear headphones when you're riding with everybody, because I've seen like people full on hit each other, like dudes that were friends riding at skate parks because the one friend had headphones on. Rock one maybe. I'm okay with one, but
no. The discussion that we were having was more along the lines of like, we're all riding together. There's already music playing.
That's the other thing too.
And if you land something sick and I'm like, that was awesome, and you roll up and go, what?
Yeah. I can't stand it.
Like, never mind.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself. Like, why are you wearing headphones? Like, I can understand maybe outside, maybe wearing headphones, but if you're with your homies and you're riding together, just let everybody's like yo's and ha-ha-ha's and stuff be the soundtrack to your session. You don't need headphones in.
Yeah, I've never been about it.
I always rip them out. Because I like to do, like, I always used to get my headphone cable stuck in my handlebars or twisted up in my hoodie pocket or something.
Oh, I remember. You're like a perfect candidate for AirPods.
Oh my God. I remember, like, riding from my house down to the street spots and stuff when I was a kid to meet up with the people with a full-on, I know older guys will hear this and go, I remember doing it with a boombox on my shoulder, like, but with a full-on CD player in my jean pocket, like it's in there perfectly so the headphone cable comes right out of the pocket.
We did that for a little while when I was younger, and then we went back to our Walkmans.
Because they didn't skip.
Yep.
Tapes didn't skip. I remember every time I'd bunny hop over like a curb or something on the way to the spot, it would be like, and the music would stop, and then it would go, and start back up again. It was horrible. When MP3 players came out, it was like the greatest thing in the world. I had a 256 megabit, like, stupid little MP3 player that held 32 songs, I think is what it was at the end of the whole thing.
All it needed.
And it was perfect. It was like one Slayer song, 2 Tupac songs, and a bunch of old punk, and that was pretty much all I listened to. But, yeah, headphones, man. Leave them out. Especially if there's music playing at the skate park you're already at. Leave them out. Public service announcement. Nobody likes them.
Just make a comment for them to change the music.
Yeah, or just find motivation.
Because it's not all that bad.
Like, I guess if you're flowing trails through the woods and you want to wear your iPad or your iPod because you're riding by yourself through the woods, then that's one thing. But I don't know. Something about sessioning with friends and wearing headphones.
Even riding trails, if you really want to get down to it, like, sure, you're kind of in your zone, but if someone goes down 3 or 4 jumps in front of you,
that's true.
You want to know when people are like, whoa, 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 whoa,
yeah,
stop,
exactly.
Stop.
I see no positive in wearing headphones. Like, I don't wear them at the gym when you're wearing. Even people at the gym that wear them it drive me nuts. Like when I used to go to the gym.
Stop, bro.
Yeah.
And you're like, I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah, it's like, hey, are you moving? Are you almost done? And they put them back in right as you go to respond, and they'd be like, huh? Wait, what? What'd you say? I don't know. I'm not a big headphone. Alright. I think I might have done my wonderful tangent thing. You asked me the Barend guy thing. Okay, go back to the Kevin story.
we can hate on headphones.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
But, and I remember that week I was at Woodward. Like, Kevin came to Woodward that day to, like, ride vert with people. And I was walking my bike up the hill talking to him, and he looked at me and he's like, why do you not have a bar end? Like, I didn't have a bar end in the one side of my bars. And he was like, hold on. He turned around and walked back to his car and came back with these They're the most elaborate, most beautiful Barends I've ever seen. Their Hoffman used to make them back in the day, and the whole wedge system was 3 pieces.
With the O-ring around it to hold it all
No,
together?
no. No, not like how Shadow did it.
That one was like DK, I think, did that too.
Shadow did the one with the rubber band and the metal plates. They had the one that compressed on itself. This one, it wasn't a cylinder. It was like a cylinder that somebody had cut the sides flat on. So it looked like a keyway almost. Where it was only round on the edges. But the wedge system had 3 wedges in it, to where when you tighten the bolt, it was almost an unlimited amount of expansion. It would go 3 times the size of a normal set of handlebars if you wanted it to. But he gave them to me, and he goes, Hoffman only actually ended up making these in like black. So this, like the one he gave me was colored green. And nobody, like the green ones didn't exist. Mm-hmm. So ever since then, I kept them in like a keepsake box because it was just like goo. Like I have Axel Jurgens. I don't know if anybody knows who that is, but like he used to ride for Mac Neal a long time ago, back in the day. I have one of his tires, his old Primo wall tires. No, it's a V Monster tire. It's a blue.
Oh, that one's not as good.
No, it's a blue V Monster tire. I have it hanging on the wall in my man cave. Like I like to collect old stuff. Like I always have. And then 2 years ago when Kevin passed away, it was like a whole nother. I was like, oh, I gotta keep a hold of these things now because it's like something nobody can ever take away from me. It was really important to me. I don't know. I'm a really sentimental person when it comes to BMX stuff, but that's pretty much it. I don't collect photos of. I don't know why.
I'm not like a collector at all, I actually thought it was funny that I wanted the metal frame, the Jimmy LeVan one.
I don't know. I think that's you've been riding long enough for that to be justifiable.
I collect videos though.
See, I had all of my videos stolen out of I had an old Chevy Lumina that I had all my DVDs and all my VHS tapes in the back of, and somebody stole them all out of my car. And I've ever since then have not, unfortunately, bought any other tangible media other than I think I bought Daily Grind's video when they came out with it, and then. That was it. I mean, I haven't bought really any tangible media in a long time. And, I'm fully supportive of it, but it's like, I don't even have a VCR to play old VHS tapes, like Square One's Wide Awake Nightmares, like one of my favorite videos of all time. Like, I haven't seen that video in years. I guess a lot of them are online now, but...
Yeah, but at what quality?
Yeah, right? It's like grainy, or the music's not the same, because... I think I saw a clip of like Mike.
YouTube can screw off
when it comes to the copyright stuff, man. Like my entire Vimeo page got shut down because of like me having copyrighted music on it.
Vimeo is still better about it than YouTube is, but
you're the exact opposite of everybody else I've talked to. Like people are saying now, like YouTube's gotten more laxed about it because.
Well, they have a lot of rights to stuff, or like they'll just throw an ad over your crap.
Yeah, like they unmonetize you or something, and it makes it work. Like your song will still play on the thing, but you have no potential for monetization anymore. I don't know how it works. Like anybody that knows how YouTube works. Like I feel like I'm getting too old for that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't even care. Like I don't like YouTube.
I don't know. Something about videos nowadays, like.
But I'm the tangible media guy.
See, I would rather sit down and hit play on like a 30-minute long BMX movie, like a video. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but have you ever seen, there was a guy from Ohio, his name was Nick Kautz. He used to own or run like Love Cinema. I don't know if you ever heard of Love Cinema. There's a video online. I show it to everybody. Everybody that hangs out at my house or anything, like the first video I pull up is Love Cinema, Here Goes Nothing. And it's all just Ohio dudes. Like there's clips that I think the video took them like 8 years to make. So some of the clips have 36 tooth sprockets and then other ones have small sprockets. Like, but the whole thing is so well put together and the soundtrack's amazing on it and the writing in it is phenomenal, but it never went anywhere. Like hardly anybody's ever seen the video.
Yeah.
But if anybody gets a chance to watch it, Love Cinema's Here Goes Nothing. It's one of my favorite videos of all time. Especially because I grew up with all the dudes that were in it. Like,
if I was better at what I do, I would put the link and share it with this, but I probably won't.
Oh, I don't even know. Yeah, just Google it.
I'll write it down and then I still won't do it. How's that?
Hey, the effort's all that matters, right?
Is it LOVES or LUVS?
LOVE and then cinema. Like
Okay.
CINEMA or whatever. But that's always been, if we're talking about what Cody Dixon's interested in, then
Nothing.
that's
well.
that's a good video that I'm into. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the why of Barend guy was more or less one of those why not kind of things. Like if I found somebody that was willing to do it, I had the money to make them, and people were willing to buy them. Why not do it? Because it was fun. There's a couple times I went on like trips to contests or trips to other things, and I sold enough pairs of Barends while I was there to even strangers or anybody else that it paid for, like my gas. Or when I went to the St. Louis trip, I sold enough pairs that it covered my hotel. And it was like that alone made the trip completely worth it, regardless of making money. It just put right back into the BMX experience for me. And that's, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have taken it slightly more seriously and tried to actually... I mean, you have a product you had to sink quite a bit of money into. So.
To some degree, but you have the advantage of a product that everyone can use.
As long as it fit everybody's handlebars, yeah, I see
what
you're saying.
Yeah, but you don't know that until you've already bought them.
Okay.
Whereas when you start looking at pegs, our first ones were extremely heavy on purpose.
Yeah.
So we were making a product that no one else was filling the void for.
Yeah, it's completely bucking the norm of what was going on.
And we knew that. So it was like, we're going to make these and we are not going to sell a bunch. Flat out.
Yeah.
So then that's where the streetlights came in was, okay, we've got you on this end. Now we're going to get you on this end so we can meet your needs, whether you want the peg that's going to last you forever or the peg that's normal but it's still better than what else is out there.
Yeah. And these things are fascinating, man.
Then beyond that, pegless kids feel like, well, you're not a company for us. And it's like, that's not true. Like, we're just because our name is GrindWorks and we make pegs doesn't mean we're not down with dudes that do cool stuff on their bikes in other manners.
BMX in general.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. No label needs to be put on anything.
Like you want to wear a GrindWorks shirt and run the racetrack and have a sticker on your number plate? Go for it.
Yes, I agree.
You build the hype and we'll make something for you.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm not going to throw stuff into the racing world when there's only 13 motos at a track, though.
Yeah.
There is no racing anymore.
I haven't been to a racetrack in so long. I remember, like, back in the day...
40 motos.
Yeah. All day long, from the start to the finish, there's motos. But
no, I mean, you're lucky to see, like, 13 motos and they're not full.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But anyway, like, so we got pegless kids, or dudes, or girls. Shout out to the girls that are riding bikes.
Yeah.
And you've got plastic peg people. So, like, if you wanted to just say they're all equal, that metal pegs, plastic pegs, and pegless were all even, which is probably not true. It might actually be closer than you think, though.
You mean
I would say probably more people are riding pegless than pegs. But anyway, we're not meeting the needs.
That's a lofty opinion.
You
think more people might be brakeless than have pegs?
Pegless than have pegs.
That's what I mean, pegless.
You got a section of street riders that don't run pegs.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
You got
I'm not
trails
saying
and you got racing.
Yeah, I guess you're definitely not wrong. Pegs are probably used less than they aren't used.
I mean, whether you want to really truly call it BMX or not,
yeah,
just the kids that are jumping boards on their sidewalks probably don't have pegs on their bikes.
That's true. All right. Yeah. My mind has come full circle on your statement.
So, and I'm, my generalization is that it's even, right? And it's probably not true. Metal pegs is probably the smallest of those three divisions.
I'd probably say that nowadays.
Current.
For sure. Yeah.
So, our market is really small.
Yeah. Whereas if I was able to produce
universal everyone
style,
everyone can use your bar ends.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. Mine wasn't niche-y at all. Mine wasn't different.
That's why I always lean towards that. Sprockets are going to be one of those things that if you make a full guard one, people don't want it. If you don't make a full guard one, they're going to ask why it wasn't full guard.
Well, and
if you make 25, they're going to want 26 tooth, and you're like.
That was what we ran into with this. We made those sprockets with NoWear, and we made them all 28 tooth, 19 millimeter spline drive.
Yeah,
and then
screwed up there.
And then right after we came out with them, we were like, why in the hell did we do that? Because now it's like, I mean, I don't know hardly anybody nowadays that's running the 19 spline drive, like 48 spline cranks nowadays, because there's so many other companies coming out with 22 millimeter cranks and everything like that. Yeah, I don't want to. I hate saying that we, screwed the pooch on something like that. Well, but it certainly was a missed opportunity to make it a more. I think we were trying to not go completely universal on the whole thing, like trying not to do that. But those are like those live and learn type things that you figure out. You're like, next time if we do this, maybe make it smooth bore with
the 22 mil bore with a 19 mil adapter. Wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world.
Something different, because anybody needs a 19 millimeter spline drive sprocket, hit me up. I'll
28 tooth only.
28 tooth only. It's a really cool looking sprocket, though. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, see that's where the niche-y thing kind of got us with the sprockets. But our stems that we just came out with are gorgeous. It's like the number one part that. Have you seen them? Like the top plate looks like chain links.
Yes.
And holds them together. The people, I don't remember who made those for us, but some guy in California, I think, made those. But they came out unbelievable. Like, it's my favorite stem I've ever seen on a bike before. Second to it goes like that one, and then probably like the Primo casket stem from way back in the day, because it was just
hefty.
Obnoxiously overbuilt clamping device that so many people ran back in the day.
Dude, there were some awesome stems back in the day.
Now we're doing that. Like, remember how things were?
Oh, I know.
We come full circle in this podcast to talking about how things used to be.
So, if you want to talk about an awesome stem, though, Odyssey chock full of nuts.
Is that the one that had the hinge?
Nope. Odyssey chock full of nuts was the one that wasn't tapped at all. It had cavities to drop nuts in, so you couldn't strip it.
Oh, that's right. It had from the backside like a seat post clamp. Everything bolted together like that. Why would that be better, though? In the sense
because you can't strip it. It was amazing. It just bolted together. You had steel threads.
That's true.
It was so heavy.
There's I used to love that Odyssey elementary stem back in the day, because I was never a hard rider, so I never had like the slipping problems other people did with it.
The creaking problem.
Oh, I did have the creaking problems. I remember having to take it apart and like put tri-flow on the triangles to try to get it from creaking. But there's an old video from a long time ago where Haro had this contest where they were trying to find like their next pro rider, and they all went down to Greenville, North Carolina, and like 8 people had to ride the unit for like a week. And I think Marcus Tooker ended up getting the place on the Haro team, but Matt Sparks out of Michigan was doing all these crazy hand plant variations at the time.
And probably cross-footed stuff.
Yeah, like Matt Sparks was doing some of the stuff that like other people still probably haven't even done. And he tried to downside hand plant the vert wall at the unit, and ended up like hitting it with his hand and popping himself out like just a straight free fall from the top of this thing to the ground. And he landed so hard that he tore that elementary stem apart. Mm-hmm. Like ripped it open, broke it off the stem, and tore it apart. And I've never seen anything like that before. But just talking about weird technology like somewhat failing, it's like
it's an awesome design. It's just not a robust design.
Yeah, one single point of pressure, it was never enough to like make it work the right way, you know?
You crushed everything, or it didn't work at all.
Yeah, you had like your handlebars were ovalized, and when you try to take them off, you would like, why won't this move? And then when you took it off, you realized your handlebar was physically not round anymore.
Yeah, it's awesome that way though. And then everything still creaked. You're like, what the heck is going on with this build?
Yeah, I see. I'm one of those weird dudes that like my bike has to sound like a basketball, even with brake cables on.
Not me. Mine can be clanky.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
I want to ride like street with you one day just to see how much of a Nancy Cinderella boy I am about like braking stuff. Like I'm not hard on but you go up things and you're just like you grind down them, and I've never been able to do that. I don't know why.
If I get something new, I just scratch it up right to begin with.
It is a good way of never being upset if something gets scratched.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, just
except my pegs. My pegs can't get scratched.
I just bought these new handlebars, slides them across the parking lot. It's like, now I don't care if I scratch them.
Perfect.
Works out for everybody.
But God, it would ruin you to see my frames when they... Because as soon as I get them, they're all ground off so that you can weld on them.
Oh,
Then I have to repaint them.
How much, like, he added... You never get that caught on anything? Like, the little shark fin hanging down, it's just perfect. It never catches.
Never catches.
Man, I have to show that stuff to my buddy Sam out in Nebraska. He would probably be fascinated by it. He's a welder fabricator that wants to do stuff like that. I think him and Derek need to talk.
I'm surprised no one has investment cast those into dropouts and just done them production.
See,
but at the same time, then they wouldn't be able to sell hub guards left and right when they break.
That's another... the best example I have for something like that I tell people is light bulbs. Like, there's no reason why a light bulb should ever burn out. You should be able to just put a steady current through the filament and leave it on. No problem. Like, the first light bulb that Edison made is still on in his house in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's an industry designed to fail so that you have to buy another one and keep buying light bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
I've never understood that concept. Like, I would rather spend $40 on a light bulb that had a lifetime guarantee than to spend $2.99 100 times through my life.
Yep.
But that's not how consumer stuff works, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be profitable.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think if I had another Barend guy question. Because that was pretty much, I mean, it was a little bit long, but it was pretty much kind of the answer I expected, that it was
completely
just a giving back type thing.
Yeah, it was completely tied
to do something.
Yeah.
But
it was just doing something in it that wasn't making money. It was just like, $40 here to go to this little jam to buy food for the weekend. Like, I just reinvested it back into the BMX thing, and like I've always been one of those dudes that buys stuff and keeps it for a while and then sells it to somebody cheap. And like, I got to a point where we were just hooking up kids with stuff, and like every year at Christmas out at Carl's house, we give a new kid like a bike. We try to come together and put parts together for a bike and give a kid a bike, and the kid that we did that for 2 Christmases ago is now like a shredder. I mean, straight up, got some of the best bunny hop 360s I've ever seen. Shout out Noah Pogemeyer, little dude from like straight up non-existent town in the United States. He's from a town that's so tiny that like people have never even heard of it before. You can like yell to the mayor up the hill from where you're on your front porch and like order food from across the street. Like, that's how small the town is. And the kid's a shredder and he's really good at riding bike, but that's the difference, is like, I think the positivity and the changes that need to be affected, it's not saying that BMX as a whole is bad or anything about BMX is wrong one way or another. It's just individuals need to make individual steps forward to make their scenes better and make things better for kids and everything like that. And that's where, to come full circle on you saying earlier about how you don't know how anybody could hate that. Like, anybody who's willing to
I kind of actually retract that statement, and I'll tell you why in a second.
Okay.
I was gonna let you finish your comment.
Well, what I was saying was like, I'm a firm believer that the quickest way to make change is to help your neighbor. So in BMX, like your neighbor is that kid that comes to the skate park, the next person. So as long as you're making effort in one person's life and you're that one person that changed something for one person, I think that could forever be like what I was saying with Kevin. Like he set me up to have a better mentality about how if you have more, giving it away is not expected of you. It should never be expected of somebody with more, but it's your responsibility as somebody with more to give back to what you love and believe in. Like, I'm not talking about out in the real world with millionaires giving money to poor people.
No. But if you, like, no one expects you to go broke helping other people.
Yeah.
But, like, if you can spare a little bit, you should.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't, and that's okay. And you shouldn't be bullied into sharing stuff. But, like...
So why do you take back your previous statement that you can see that it might...
So, because it's not relatable. In the same way that you're talking about a little town that no one's ever heard of, there's a kid that can shred versus the state of California and the current BMX industry, and Austin, Texas, and the current BMX industry.
Yeah.
If you have it all around you, someone setting that up to do it as what appears as a private thing, even though it's for everyone else, and doing it on your own property and doing all this stuff is weird.
It is very weird, and
it's not weird. It's just that it's not relatable. So in that sense, I can see how people could be so detached from reality, living in these high-profile areas with parks on every single corner of their city and people riding all around them, that they can't relate to it.
I think that can be said on both sides of the coin, though. It's not relatable, while it's also something that might be so wanted by other places that it's not hatred and not the term jealousy of something existing, but like, oh my gosh, what I would give to have that here, or something, like seeing it on either side. Either you're desensitized to it and it's not relatable like what you're seeing, or some people are seeing it from a distance and wishing they could have it and it's not obtainable in other areas.
Or that little kid in that town, BMX is not a thing that they can have.
Yes.
Because all they see, if they look it up on YouTube, it's all city, LA, San Diego, whatever. Yeah. Austin, Texas. Well, sorry, your little podunk town doesn't have 85 skate parks and 100,000 different street spots and ditches you can go to every day. But there's people out there making the effort so that you can have something.
Yeah, and I think...
And that's relatable.
The whole thing with him and what's out there and what's going on, it's always been for BMX as a whole, but the main focus is Nebraska. I mean, those kids freeze their ass off in the wintertime. They work all summertime in cornfields and doing other stuff out there like that. There's not much to do out there, even if it was 70 degrees and sunny out. Like, drugs come quickly into life in the wintertime, especially.
Drugs and have kids early.
Yeah, like that stuff happens a lot out there for people, like in smaller places like that. Like, I personally know of at least 3 people that NoWear as a group of people helping the community, right? Mm-hmm. That I know at least 3 kids whose lives have completely made 180s or, changed. For lack of BMX puns there, making a 180. But like, I have a guy that I know, he used to steal things. Like, he used to steal from people. And now the dude, like, got himself... He has 2 kids and a loving wife and a house now, and he's working his ass off. Like, NoWear has affected change in more than just BMX. And I think that's where what you said about it not being relatable is, like, it gotta be... I've never even thought about that, so I hope Carl makes it this far into the interview to hear this part, but, like, that could be a huge reason as to why that quote-unquote hatred or whatever else has has shown its face, like we talked about previously, is because
they don't get it.
It doesn't make any freaking sense. Like, how is this happening, or who is doing this, or why are you doing what? Like, it's in Nebraska. Yeah, I could totally see that being a reason for people to not be hateful, but be so confused that they don't know how to use their words correctly. Mm-hmm. You know, so I appreciate that perspective. I'd never looked at it that way.
Well, and I mean, it was coming up as you were talking through that. I'm like, you know what? I don't agree with that anymore because I do see how people can hate it.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, and I think it's wrong in the way they're approaching it. But yeah, I get it, kind of.
Yeah, I never even thought about the idea that it could seriously just be so weird to people that they can't even try to begin to try to understand it, or why is it happening.
They've never dealt with the fact that there's nothing to ride, nowhere to ride.
Oh, that was good. Way to sneak that in.
Gotcha, Carl.
Yeah, hey. But yeah, dude, I don't know. Like, I'm just right now, like, to kind of wrap up everything about NoWear. Like, we've raised like almost $70,000. There is a physical building up with a concrete floor, with a roof, with walls, and in the next 2 weeks, the whole thing is going to be completely closed cell spray foamed, so that in the wintertime, like, you hardly even have to really heat it. I mean, there's going to be a furnace inside of it to heat the building up, but it started out as like a 40 by 50 building, and then like the local racetrack came out and they were like, hey man, we should just add on to the building, because we had these roof trusses that stuck out. So on one side of the building, we just built the roof all the way down and made almost a lean-to, but it closed it in. So there's going to be a full-fledged like L-shaped pump track outside of the actual skate park foam pit area, and there's an upstairs for like movable.
I was gonna say, did he do anything for like an indoor track?
That's essentially what's going to be on the outside of the building, but still inside of it, it's going to be like a wooden track inside, like with a hip and everything for dudes to jump. But then upstairs, like above the roll-in, he did a really similar thing to like your guys' ice house, to where it's a 20-foot by 10-foot room that's just going to have like a bank at one end and a grind ledge in the middle.
Super tight quarters.
Yeah, that you can move around and stuff. So like everybody, even the street riders, are going to be able to come in there and do their jib stuff on the ledges and the tight quarters and stuff like that. Or you turn yourself around, you go down this beautiful roll-in, and it's a full-fledged like foam pit with a box and a spine and a vert wall and a resi, and it's going to be all the stuff the kids need to learn how to ride BMX more efficiently. Like, and that's just, at the end of the day, that's all it's for.
Yeah.
It's not for any one person to get any better. It's not for Carl's kids, because, I mean, God, they ride, but they don't take it as seriously as he does sometimes. You know what I mean? They're not for anybody but BMX. Like, he just straight up wants to cut the ribbon on that thing and have people in town, like, as much as possible. If you're going to Colorado, if you're driving across country, you're going somewhere, make that a place you go. And check it out, because you will not regret it. I mean, his wife is a chef that makes amazing food. The hospitality out there is second to none. I mean, I'm bummed that it's so far away, because you may or may not ever really get to go out there. That's a journey, my friend.
I was out that way. I had my bike too. We drove from here to Casper, Wyoming.
Yeah, I mean, you would have had to kind of make a jaunt around the corner, but yeah, you could have easily gone
terrible.
there. Yeah, you could have easily gone there.
I mean, I passed practically right by it coming out 80.
Yeah, it's right off. It's 35 minutes off of Interstate 80.
So, I mean, we drove it straight through to Wyoming in our F550.
Big loud pickup truck.
Stiff. It was flat bedded.
Yeah, because it needs weight on the back for it to ride right.
Oh, it's terrible.
I couldn't imagine, man.
We never stopped for food or anything. At the same time, you know how those diesels have the fuel filter in them, and it has to burn off.
Yeah, and
so we had a hole in our exhaust, and we had a bad thermostat, so it couldn't do the burn-off process. It requires both compression and a thermostat, a working thermostat.
So it was just blowing black out of the back the whole time?
No, we burned fuel the whole time. We just continuously ran the drip process. So we ran out of gas so many times that we stopped and wasted so much fuel. Took it to a shop out there and they manually burned it out, and they're like, "You're gonna have to do this again. Like, you can't drive this truck back to Pittsburgh." So we ended up having to fly back, and I had to ship my bike back. Like, I put it on the plane.
Yeah.
But I had my toolbox and everything in the trailer, all my tools for riding and everything. So that had to get shipped back on a pallet from work and everything. It was a rough situation. I didn't have my toolbox for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we flew back, but while I was out there, like, I couldn't drive the truck back to Nebraska on a weekend or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it was a pile
Well,
of
if you're ever
garbage,
out there again, man, you should definitely try and get there for sure.
I'd love to.
Anybody that's out that way, definitely try to go sometime.
I like that you're inviting me to Carl's house and everyone else.
Yeah, anybody show up.
I know it doesn't really matter. It's
a
pretty open invite.
Yeah,
it sounds like
you can camp on the driveway, and if you're willing to do work, he'll probably feed you. That's kind of how it goes out there. Like, you're willing to come out and make his life a little bit easier because the dude's like always doing stuff for other people. It's insane.
I guess the only other thing you had asked, and I deflected the question earlier, was about the ice house.
Oh yeah. So, just how did that come about? Like,
I've personally always wanted to do something.
Yeah.
But even before that, like, I just wanted to create some cool stuff because I was helping out a lot up at HCS.
Yeah.
And, you know, generally, like, if we wanted to build something cool, we were like, "Can we build something cool?" And he's like, "Heck yeah, go for it."
Up at HCS?
Yeah. Like, why are you asking if you've got just do it?
Yeah, if you got the stuff, make it happen.
Yeah. So that mentality was always like really cool. And then he's got a shop motto that is always offensive to people, and it is until you understand. Like, he's never explicitly said what it means, but I know what it means to me, and that's like good enough. The shop motto is "Kill yourself."
Okay.
And you can see how that gets taken the wrong way a lot. But my impression of that motto is based on his work ethic and the work ethic I've seen, and like, you see a ton of people day in, day out talk about how much they want something, how, you know, "Oh man, it'd be awesome if I could have this, but I don't want to kill myself over it."
Yeah. Because it's not saying,
so
it's not like a violent thing, it's saying put in so much effort that you feel like you might, you know, work yourself to death or like, die trying to get what you want.
If you want it, you're gonna have to work for it.
Yeah.
No one's gonna hand you something. You're not owed anything by anyone else. You know, just it is what it is. You know, like, you can't expect people to hand you stuff. If you want it, put in work. Yeah. And maybe you will.
So that was what motivated you to start stuff with the ice house? Was just finally, you were like, I wanted to do this.
I just wanted to do something. Yeah. And I've always kind of just kept an eye open for like a space that was cheap enough to rent to do whatever I want to do. Yeah. But even prior to that, I had approached the wheel mill a bunch of times about, like, look, you got all this empty space around. You've got these alleyways, the empty space under ramps. You've got the whole upstairs area that I get that it's your strider room. Yeah. But let me use that space. I will buy all the wood. I will do all the work. Yeah. I don't want anything for it. I don't even want to ride it for free.
You just wanted a spot
to just wanted to build some cool stuff that you guys don't have. Yeah. And I was repeatedly told no. And eventually was told You can give us some money for some stuff and we'll put your name on what we build with it. And I was like, I don't want a GrindWorks roller.
Yeah.
Not my deal. I said, I'll find a place and I'll do it myself. So I did. We had looked at a spot a year or so prior to when we actually did it, and it was way bigger. Rent was about the same. The location was kind of crappy. And then just timing wise, we're like, you know what? I don't think it makes sense to do it right now. So we held off. I kept my eye on Craigslist.
That how you found it? Was just like through the internet?
Yeah.
Just found a guy renting out like a garage?
Yeah, warehouse space.
And he didn't care what you did to the inside of it?
Right. So that's the other key component of like what you got to pitch to like what you're doing and them be okay with it.
It's not like you were doing anything destructive to that place. Like you built, or did you?
A little bit. You got to figure the whole place was drywalled.
Oh, it was so even if you just screwed something to the wall, you were essentially damaging the drywall.
Now it wasn't in good shape.
Oh.
The ceiling was falling in a little bit. Like I did a lot of work to the building.
Okay.
It was full of shelves, like just crappy wooden shelves. But so many shelves that I didn't have to buy 2x4s.
You just chopped those shelves all up.
So most of them were 8 feet. They were full size.
Yeah.
Other than the like depth.
Yeah.
And I was able to do a lot with those too. But I think in total I might have bought 12 2x4s for that park.
Not bad.
It's insane.
Yeah. And how long did you guys get to have it for? Almost a year?
So we leased it for a year and a half because we leased it in like October or something. We're like, there's no way. We don't want to be coming up on releasing this place in October. Yeah. Of course we're going to want to renew it.
Yeah.
But we were like, can we do a year and a half,
To get you through that second
to get us
winter?
to April.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we ended up doing. It was a year and a half lease. That's all we ever intended it to be. Never was meant to make any money,
so
we did a donation only.
What did you guys have into it every month? Like, what were you guys paying?
So it was split between myself and Tyler.
Okay.
We didn't want a bunch of people in there.
Well, because then people think like
it's liability on the lease.
You can't put 30 people's names on the lease. It was just you and Tyler's name, so it's not like if you brought in a bunch of other people, they would want to ride it when you weren't there, and everything else like that.
And we also it was our private spot,
it wasn't intended to.
It was a little bit for everyone, but it was primarily, selfish, whatever. It was our spot.
I think everybody's entitled to having a private spot. If you're willing to pay for it, you can have it, right?
Yeah. So we had our spot, and we were like, it would really be a bummer if you show up to your own spot and it's crowded. Because so-and-so brought so-and-so, and they brought their friend, and you didn't know because they have a key too, and you're like, yeah, no.
So how much were you into it each month?
It was $650 a month. That included everything, like electric, water, whatever.
Was there a bathroom in the place? Oh, there was a bathroom. Wow, $650 a month's not bad, especially between two people. You gotta think especially if you could acquire the materials to do that on your own, and shoot, yeah, I think $650 is pretty reasonable.
We spent a lot of money on plywood.
But that's coming from a 30-year-old dude with a full-time job and another 30-year-old guy with a full-time job.
It's $325 a month, But
even for some kids, that might not even be logical for them to try to get.
Instead of chasing it, we weren't trying to split rent every month. It was I paid 1 month, he paid the next. Way easier than being like, hey, you got that $325.
Yeah, it seems way more logical. It's just your January, March, May, and June, and whatever else.
So it worked out pretty good for us in the long run. Just most of those ramps are still around.
Where are they at? Over Buddy's house?
Again, I tried to give them to the wheel mill after, and it just never worked out time wise, and I don't think they wanted a lot of it.
Huh.
So, different people took different stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Some people bought different stuff, you know, if they had something in mind that they wanted.
Yeah.
But then as things got down to the wire, it's like, okay, I need to be out of this space. You just come take it, please. Or it's getting burned, and no one wants to burn this stuff.
Burning plywood is the most painful thing in the world for a guy that likes building ramps, like myself. Just watching plywood burn is like, ah.
But yeah, I mean, year and a half, it was all really good times. There were so many days that we just, like, we posted stuff on Instagram all the time, like, hey, we're gonna be open. Hey,
yeah,
whatever.
I remember seeing it every damn time. I was like,
but what you didn't see was like the other 3 days that week that we were there, just having a good session, or that we went there and just played darts for 3 hours and never even took our bikes out of the car, or
basically like
poured wax, or
having an adult clubhouse.
Yeah, did other projects. Our last lock-in, we played Dave Mira Freestyle BMX 2 or Matt Hoffman 2. I think both at different points on a PS2 that our buddy Zach brought. And we played that more than we actually rode.
That's wild. I wish I had... Yeah, any of the Youngstown dudes, if you're listening, let's find a spot and make another ice house. Let's do it.
I mean, you guys have Wedgwood. It's just... Whether
I'm very happy. I'm very thankful for having a local indoor skate park in my community. I get hurt every time I go there. I don't know why. I fall so hard every time I go.
It's dark. It's really
I don't know what it is, but that place has been around for so long now. It's been 5 other skate parks in the past. Like, it was Half Pipe Mike's at one point in time, then it was Gravity House and Wedgwood. And Wedgwood ramps. I mean, it's changed a whole bunch, and not having it would be worse. That's definitely one of them things. Like, I would take it over not having it, but something about the plate, I always fall. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I run those folding tires and the floors are always dusty in there, or what the hell it is, but I've slipped and fallen in there every time.
I don't have good eyesight, and it's too dark for me sometimes. And I don't wear my glasses, so it's my own fault that I can't see.
Oh, you don't have like riding glasses?
I do.
Like Montana Ricky style, like to where they look like sunglasses and you have a strap around.
So I hate the like lower rim on them. Blocks my like spot where I like to see to pull up. So it's like I can't time anything when I've got them on, and it's like if I just wore them, I could get used to it. I could ride in these because they're like child-proof glasses. They're like super rubbery. So they wouldn't break, basically.
That's like the one thing I have still good. Like, my eyesight is the only thing I have. My hearing is going already. It's funny to me. Like, I can't hear crap out of my left ear half the time. But my eyesight, perfect. 20/20 all day long.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I got crooked teeth. That's like... take the good with the bad, everything, you know.
I got a short tooth.
Short tooth?
Yeah, I had a filling on it, and it like kind of had to get ground down. This one?
Yeah. It is.
It's short. That's why I got the camera there.
It's like a lightning McQueen. Ka-chow. God, how do you know I have kids? I just referenced a Pixar movie in a BMX podcast. Oh, all right.
It's a lifestyle podcast, bro.
On that note, I gotta drive
it's loosely based on BMX.
Loosely based on BMX. There's no topics. We don't script anything here at GrindWorks.
I mean, if you wanted to talk about potato chips and shoes for 4 hours, dude, we could do it.
Unless you're talking about kettle chips, it ain't no conversation.
I don't do kettle chips.
I like kettle, salt, and vinegar, so it's like they rub your mouth raw.
No,
by the time
I just got to be careful with any of the like fried stuff, like because I'm allergic to peanuts.
Oh, really?
Peanut oil.
Oh, the thing.
So I got to pay attention.
The pain in my life I would feel if I was allergic to like any actually.
Which fun fact for anyone allergic to peanuts? Technically, peanut oil is not considered an allergen.
Really?
So It's not required to be listed by the FDA.
But it can still still cause allergic reactions, right? Peanut oil?
Technically, no.
I have no idea.
But it's only if it's highly refined peanut oil, because all the proteins are refined out of it.
So if it's just your run-of-the-mill
if you get like cheapo crap barrel peanut oil, like still, Chinese food restaurants,
still definitely give you allergic reaction.
It's definitely a problem.
Huh. Never in a million years would have even known that.
So
I found out this thing the other day about how bananas are ripened. Like if you go to the grocery store and you see a banana that the stem is still green and the banana is yellow, that banana was chemically ripened. And like my wife showed me the other day proof, like she bought bananas at one store, bananas at another, and the one that she got at the one store, like the stem and the banana went like brown and black at the same time, whereas the other banana, it was like the stem still looked completely fine and the banana was starting to get brown spots on it.
The other part that people don't know is that when the skin is brown is when it's ripe.
Yeah, it's the other. Ripening happens as it gets brown, not when it's green. Those are raw,
well, and
not ripe.
Even yellow, like if it's still bright yellow, it is not ripe yet.
Yeah. I don't know how some people can eat green bananas. Like, it's the worst texture ever. You ever eaten a banana that's not
crunchy?
Yeah, it's like gritty on your. It's freaking horrible, dude.
It's bad for you.
It's freaking horrible. Is it bad for you too?
I think so.
I have no idea.
It's supposed to be. I don't know. It's also one of those things that you hear and it's like, is it true? Is it like you hear it and you take it for granted for your entire life, and then you're like, wait, am I dumb?
I've been believing this. I've been believing this one way my whole life, and now I'm proven wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, brother. I got to get back to Youngstown. My wife is calling me and hitting me up.
Fair enough. All right, so to end this, Cody is at the Barend guy. Any underscores or anything?
No, I'm just straight up at the Barend guy.
Okay.
Spelled how it sounds.
And then NoWear BMX is at NoWear _BMX.
No, just straight up.
Just straight up NoWear BMX.
Yeah, NoWear, like NO and then wear, like your T-shirt. WEARBMX.com or at NoWear BMX.
At NoWear BMX, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, check out both of those things. If you haven't heard of NoWear, you must have been living under a rock, but not out in Nebraska.
All the rocks in Nebraska.
You're in LA and you just don't care about what's happening in the rural America.
Because it's not, what do you call it? Not obtainable. It doesn't make any sense. That's why you don't know who we are.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you.
But if you don't know Cody, that's more than likely the case, and you should pay attention to his new batch of Barends, hopefully coming out soon.
Oh yeah, that's more preemptive than talking about new products from nowhere. Damn.
One more thing before we completely wrap.
Yeah.
Corn Hucket Jam dates.
Oh, dude, it's July 13th. Free camping, free music all weekend. I have never seen us not have food vendors on site, like hamburgers and stuff like that. I think this year we have like 7 bands playing all day. And you guys can come out as early as Thursday night, so like the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and then he kicks you out of there Sunday or Monday, depending on. But
it's pretty fair. Free
camping. You just have to make a donation for entrance that day. If you're riding, it's one donation. If you're not, and you know, I could be wrong on that too. There might not be any kind of donation this year. I don't know. You have to look out.
I mean, even if that's the case, you should probably donate.
Yeah, I mean, if you're willing to drive,
you're camping on the dude's property. You're riding his ramps and stuff. Like,
yeah,
the least you can do is donate to the cause.
If you're willing to drive all the way out in the middle of nowhere, then just bring $20 with you and help out the cause. So, but
all right,
yeah. Anybody, if you have any questions, send me a message at the Barend guy or send NoWear BMX or Andy at GrindWorks BMX.
Yeah, I can forward you on and play middleman for a little bit here.
We love working together, so I appreciate everything.
Thanks for coming out, Cody.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Off-camera handshake.
Yep, can't hear it, but you can see it.
Yeah, so follow them. NoWear BMX, the Barend guy. Yeah, that's cool. That's actually happening the same date as our Pittsburgh Street Jam.
Yeah.
That's cool. Go to either one.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know where my clothes thing is, and I usually go to the wrong one. Thanks for checking out another episode of the GrindWorks Podcast. This episode has nothing following it as far as I know. I don't have any recorded episodes. This one's, pretty much the end at this point. Probably by the time this goes live, I will have another episode recorded or one lined up. But for right now, our jams are upcoming. July 13th in Pittsburgh is the GrindWorks Pittsburgh Street Jam. July 27th at HCS Skate Park in Vestal, New York is our Binghamton Jam. Hopefully see you out at one or both of those, and if you can't make it to either of those, I hope you can make it out to the Cornhucket Jam that NoWear puts on. July 13th, that's definitely out of our area. There's definitely no competition as to who's going to what one, or don't do yours on the same day. It's all friends here, so definitely hope you make it out to any or all of those three jams. Obviously, you can't be at both the Pittsburgh and NoWear Jam unless you have an airplane and want to get crazy. I'd love to see someone do that. Please go to both the same day. That'd be amazing. All right, till next time, guys. Check out GrindWorks_BMX on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, and GrindWorks BMX on Facebook, Mixer, YouTube, and Anchor. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing some, but it doesn't really matter. All right, take it easy.